What's going on, people? How we living? Keith, how are you, man?
Today's the best day of my life, Ben. How you doing?
Today is fantastic because we're chopping it up on some social media nerd stuff.
Most definitely, man. This is quite a timely topic. We've seen multiple instances of how what's going down has basically taken over our feeds over the past few months. So,
Yeah, it's been going on for even longer than that. I think people are now it's reached the level of consciousness where people understand that that's taking place. So like that's what's really brought it to the forefront. But this is what we'll get into is really why Andrew Tate was Andrew Tate too, right? So yeah, it'll be fun to talk about.
yeah, man. Yeah. Most recent example, I would imagine, well, technically, you have clavicular everywhere, but also Professor Jang,
Yeah,
has totally been one of the major faces of this wave of how social media is being used over the past year. And then so there's also like the business and economics of some of this that diverges when you look at someone like Professor Chang, right? Because he's not necessarily pushing that per se,
totally.
but it's still happening anyways.
Naturally, because and it actually is going to get worse in the age of AI because as we've talked about in the background a bunch, the 0 to 1 is going to be the hardest part
Mm,
because the hook when there's just like when everyone has the thing right now is that like social strategy is still kind of difficult, right? In terms of understanding human behavior, developing a good idea that also has a good hook. But eventually, purpose built social media tools will democratize that. So then it'll all come down to like, do they already know you? And this may take years to take place, but eventually it'll be like, can this face act as the hook? So then eventually, like a lot of people will just continue to be what clippers are, where they go where there's guaranteed views. And the reason why people clip people is because once you get that flywheel going, it's guaranteed views. So you're either getting
so
paid. Go ahead.
so let's break down what is clipping real quick and what's
Totally.
going on.
So clipping is a phenomenon that's taken over all of the internet because of the emergence of merit-based distribution or interest-based media, whatever you want to call what TikTok's For You page was. How you could randomly make a video. It didn't matter if you had 0 followers, you could get millions of views incredibly quickly. Okay. That completely changed the incentive structures of the entire internet and the media on it. Like, completely changed. That was dramatically exacerbated the decline of society. Like, that was a pivotal moment. Go ahead.
And to be clear, right? So what it was before
Mm-hmm.
was like social media, right? Like your
Yes.
friends based content, right? If you're following someone, you see in chronological order what
Yes.
your friends are posting versus
Yeah.
people are watching this thing. And so now it's appearing on your feed.
The distribution algorithms, they just weren't as sophisticated. So as somebody who was growing theme pages on Instagram in like 2015, 2016, 2017 kind of deal, the grind from like to get your first video that popped off was a freaking nightmare, dude. And it also was like a systemic problem for the platforms themselves because it's pretty dumb that the best way for me to grow on a platform wasn't posting content, it was user actions. So like basically what I'll explain is that when I'd get a new page, because there was no one to go to because it initially got served to your followers, if you have 0 followers, you basically get close to 0 views. So the chances of getting good data from that tiny initial
Mm,
pool of people is so unlikely. Like you
right.
could use tools like hashtags to get in front of a little bit of a more targeted people, but it was just so small that basically I would grind my way to my first 1,000 followers doing what was called follow for follow. So
Mm,
that especially earlier on in social media, the law of reciprocity is a natural human trait. And what that basically means is that when someone does something for you, you feel indebted to them to do the same sort of thing. So especially when social media was new and people didn't really know how to conduct themselves online, because it is just an extension of human behavior, they would follow back oftentimes. And so I would do that in a targeted way to try to get my first 1,000 or so people, and then my content could actually start taking off. But now you can go in, and we've done it on a new page, right? Like for the app that we're launching, and we'll talk about
Mhm.
very, very soon. You already have a video on there with millions of views on a brand new page.
Crazy.
It's
Yeah.
insane. That was not a thing before. TikTok completely changed that equation. That's why people like Gary Vee are so much less relevant today,
Yeah.
because he was building brick by brick and he was compounding on yesterday's work. Where now, like, the pro is anything that you do, if it's really good, can get a ton of views. The con is what you did yesterday doesn't mean as much now for today's equation that it used to. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a very, very fascinating concept, and as far as, like, energy, right, that you spend doing stuff, it changes the equation because, like, the idea is typically just do stuff, just put stuff out, just do it, boom, boom, go, 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 and when you're at the very beginning of your journey, I think that that's still fair. Like, just put stuff out because you've
Definitely.
gotta learn, right? You've gotta get data back from the algorithm yourself.
Yes.
But then it turns into, okay, well, just because I have a million followers, now I actually probably should serve them and like make sure that they will even see what it is that I've done. And that requires having really high quality content.
Yes. And your audience, to a degree, used to kind of shape what you would make next, right? Because you knew that you had an audience that followed you for a specific reason, but now when that's completely thrown to the wind, it did open up creative freedom. That was actually one of the big, like, why there was this massive opportunity and moment for TikTok to completely take over is because anybody who was posting consistently on Instagram at that time realized that there was a very high, like, social cost, or at least a perceived one, to posting. So, like, they didn't wanna post and not get a lot of likes, so
Mm,
they would be very selective about how much they posted, and so then the sheer volume of content went down, and so when that happens, the creativity and the risks that are taken there are just none, right? So,
very true.
that's why Instagram became incredibly stale, and everyone was like, "I wanna see my friends post." It's like, your friends are too afraid to post, so they ain't even posting, right? So, like, most of them aren't even content creators. Um, I'm late to the party. What up, what up? Welcome, welcome, welcome,
What's up,
Cross Central,
folks?
yo. Hope you're all doing amazing. But, yeah, so it completely changed the paradigm of social media, so much so that even it impacted every platform. The short form ones were obviously the most impacted by that, but even the long form platforms, like, we this is actually very timely to, like, our show, is that a lot of podcasts, like even long form content, their primary strategy is clips. So that's
Mhm.
why, which is exactly the topic that we're talking about, why clip farming and how these short clipping things became what runs the entire internet. That's why when you go watch other podcasts, if it feels like it's scripted, it's because it is, right? Like, they're deliberately writing and asking every single question to be the hook of a clip that will come after.
Mhm.
That's the whole game. That's why podcasts don't feel like podcasts anymore, because they're not. They're clip farming sessions.
That's real, man. Yeah, it's a whole different form of media compared to you sitting down and having a conversation with someone. It's turned into, and it's also interesting to think about how if you look at some of like the major big podcasts, it also feels like TV in a lot of ways. You know, it's like 60 minutes
Yes.
episodes.
Yes. Very true. Yeah. A lot of that is also because people are accustomed to, like, that sort of time block, right? Like, if you think back to, like, what it so for example, for like, why our show has an uphill battle from the very beginning is because our content is 2+ hours, sometimes 3+ hours long. If you think about any other kind of media that exists like that, like, what else is that long? Maybe sports
Probably it.
or a movie.
Or a full-on movie, correct.
Not recurring stuff, right? So,
Mhm,
like, why
mhm.
it's so hard for, like, a show like this to break through in an algorithm is because the level of intent and the I am statements have to just be so much stronger. And now when so many people are in these so many buckets on the internet, clips is a way to break through because you can hit so many people so fast. And a lot of people also think they can get the value of what a podcast was in these bite-sized morsels, which I just don't think is real. And I think that the market will wake up to that, which is why we conduct the show the way that we do. I think that there will be a pendulum that will swing back the other way, but we're very extreme this way. What else should we explain on clipping?
Well, I think that's a good kind of intro. I guess it'll make sense to maybe run through an example of like what we've seen happen in real time. Maybe we go to the Andrew Tate example of like how
Sure,
did he actually blow up? What were the economics behind that? And
totally.
yeah.
This is interesting from the chat. So Vine birthed the clipping pandemic. Not as much. Of course, like, it was the first intro into short form content in the way that it was done, but clipping is more so like, so yeah, I totally see what you're saying. it was the birthplace of short form social, like short form video content, but it wasn't as bad from like a farming standpoint because people didn't really know what they were doing. It was very much like exploration. It did birth creators like Jake Paul and Logan Paul and stuff like that, and that's really where their whole fame was created. But for me, TikTok was like the changing moment, and also timed with the fact that it happened during COVID. Truly insane. But like you said, Andrew Tate was one of the first people. Please don't give into that style of podcast. I appreciate the structure. We won't. That's we refuse to do that. Like even people who suggest that we should do that, I don't. That doesn't align with the thesis for like what we're doing here. So that's not something you have to worry about. But Andrew Tate. So Andrew Tate had been making content on the internet for a very long time, Keith. Okay, for a very long time. But he was making these longer form content pieces for things like YouTube. Okay, and as a guy like him who like hate him, love him, he's fairly intelligent, but sometimes if you aren't like a truly expert at something, you can miss the signal from the noise, right? And so he thought like on YouTube or streaming or whatever, it was like volume or like quality of content that was the 80-20 there, when really it was the idea and the content packaging, and he was shit at that. So like he was already very polarizing, but if you don't know how to present a polarizing package for the platform it's natively being posted on, it doesn't really matter. Do you get what I'm saying?
For sure.
So he was posting to YouTube all the time for a long period of time. And obviously, because he was shit at titles and thumbnails, no one watched. Even like the guys that he could have pulled that were into that kind of crap, he couldn't speak to them because he didn't know the tools were that important of the titles and the thumbnails. Okay. Then so a guy who has a similar skill set to me, who's like a social media strategist, he actually was one of the first people who did this. He reached out to Andrew Tate. He said, "Hey, I'll try doing this for you for free. If it works, then pay me." Okay. So he started clipping up moments, understanding that like this guy is so polarizing. That's kind of his whole character. It's his whole shtick. This stuff would do really well on clips. So he started clipping up all of his stuff. Obviously, it went crazy. And at this time, I believe that before even this happened, Tate already had a course that he was pushing people to from his YouTube channel. Is my understanding. I could definitely be wrong on that. But when this shit went crazy, it obviously sparked an idea of him. He's like, wait, I already have a lot of people that could be financially incentivized to do what this person is doing and push way more people to my course, community, whatever. So then he made it one of the tasks within the make money online things that his course, The Real World, had. So then they all started cutting clips for him because they were affiliates for the program. So they'd have an Andrew Tate clip, and then at the end, it'd be like, join the real world, use code whatever, blah, 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 blah. And that's why it was everywhere, because there was all of this talent that another thing that you got to consider, guys, is that like, even though social media has been accessible, like a lot of Americans, you don't realize how lucky you guys are to have access to social media in the ways that you do. Lucky or unlucky, depending on your perspective, but you have the freedom of access to every new feature all the time, every time. As a social media strategist in Canada, my job is way harder because we don't get the features that you get like half the time. Sometimes there'll be like a cheat code on the platform that we never even get because by the time they realize it's broken, I never even got to use it. Wow. That happened all the time. And so you guys always get those new features, which gives you a huge advantage. There's a lot of people who are really talented overseas in like India, Pakistan, whatever, and they couldn't make money from content. They also didn't speak English natively, right? So this opened up for kids, which is kind of crazy, but like 16-year-old to 18-year-old kids, that's the way they could make money. And people who are overseas who couldn't natively monetize their views or speak clear English, they could cut some clips for Andrew Tate, and they made some money. And that started the crazy thing where he took over the internet, was the most Googled man in the world. It's actually like not that complex of a thing when you really understand it. And it's really funny now because his fame is gone, how bad he wants it back. Like it's so fascinating.
Yeah, that's another piece of all of this that I think is going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Is like once you've been the most polarizing person on the internet, you've gone on all the podcasts, you've done all the debates, like eventually it kind of gets played out to some degree, and then you got to figure out what to do next.
It gets played out because easy come, easy go.
Right.
What was the foundation of the relationship? It was transactional in nature. It was shock value in nature. How long can you be shocked? Right? So of course you're going to go stale, especially when, like, think of the long-term moat around being crazy like that. It's non-existent.
Because the other side of this, like I look at Dan Bilzerian, he also kind of recently did this to a degree. It's like eventually you're just not surprised by anything that the person has to say. You know what I mean? Because they've broken past a certain barrier that they could say anything.
You're
and you
numb
wouldn't
to
care.
it. Yeah, you're numb to it. It's like, okay, I know, because people love to put people in boxes too. That's why, like, once that's established, it's very hard to break that even in your own personal life because it's more cognitive load for me to not assume what you're gonna do all the time. Right? So as soon as I have you labeled and I'm like, "Okay, you're in this box, you're in this box, you're in this box, you're in this box," it's way less mental work for me every single day. So that we're seeing that play out real time on the internet, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the people that have been able to try to make a pivot. So like there was like the like Lily Phillips thing that was going on.
Billy Phillips, is that the girl who
Yes.
had a lot of friends?
She had a ton of friends. And like the way that she did it was like, "Oh, I'm getting baptized and I'm like changing my life." Right? I don't think that she followed through with that, but, like, that was the way that she, like, got her attention back again because everyone was already just, like, done with that story, you know what I mean?
That
So, yeah, it was
dude,
interesting.
I think that there will be some crazy studies that eventually come out in terms of what the fame does to people's brain, especially in the time in which it's acquired, right? Because I'm actually really lucky that my life went the way that it did, where when I was getting some success, like life took it away from me pretty quickly so that I didn't get as high as I probably could have gotten when I wasn't ready for it. And then life like humbled the shit out of me. So then now like I really don't care for it.
Mhm,
Do you know what I'm
mhm,
saying? And so that's what I think makes us far more equipped for a show like this is because that whole thing for why most people get into social content, I really don't care about anymore, like at all. In fact, that's why I didn't really post for years. 'Cause like
mhm.
I was content being the guy behind the camera or like executing the strategy, but I was just making so many people rich and like getting no credit for it. So I was like, okay, I guess I gotta start filming myself again. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Fair.
yeah, I think that it's very cognitively distorting. And when you come into the game and you're like, I'm like a lot of those girls like Lily Phillips that you're mentioning, she came into it clearly. You only do that if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to this outcome, I'm optimizing towards this. This was a surefire way I get there. Then you get there. Then how do you feel?
Yeah, no telling.
And then, well, yeah, I guess it depends what you're talking about. But the I will say that like so many people on social, like when you if you're willing to be that extreme, success is guaranteed
Mm,
in terms of exposure.
mm, mhm,
But I think a
mhm.
lot of people just I think there's a lot of people who are very misguided in terms of thinking that views equals money too. Like, truthfully, because even
Right.
Caligula, who's like the biggest name on the internet right now, he's not making that much money
Mhm.
because he's not a business person. Almost all of these creators out there, they got famous so fast that they're leaving so much opportunity on the table that they'll never get back because their 5 minutes will be over.
Right.
So it's a very, very strange phenomenon. And the clipping thing is really how this all goes because when someone is as extreme as Lily Phillips, like there's a lot of people that would never even interact with Lily Phillips that would cut her content because they know it'll get views.
For sure, for sure. And then also as soon as it's not relevant, those people are gone, you know?
They don't because they never gave a shit about her in the first place. Right? It's all about how you acquire the relationship. The reason why we bring up Joe Rogan so frequently on the show is because he grew he didn't it's actually really funny how like the biggest podcast in the world doesn't even understand really like how content works that much. And that's probably why it worked for him. Because if you truly
Mm,
like why so many people chase these views quickly from like these clip-based podcasts, they all go towards that because doing what we're doing is not like as fun. It's not as dopamine heavy, right? Like we'll post out and talk for 3 hours and get like 1,000 views, which I'm appreciative for all of them because I understand what they mean.
right.
But it's a lot more dopamine heavy for me to like optimize this entire conversation for rage baiting clips, right? So they all fall victim to that.
Most definitely. Um, on the concept too of like not having the business acumen. I mean, my favorite example of this, no shade, just looking at the facts of the storyline, Haley Welch and the whole Haktua thing,
Mm.
right? Huge moment that lasted way longer than it should have. And what did she do to monetize? She launched a meme coin and rug pulled. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's tough, man. Because
Yeah.
clearly she should have been educated on what she was getting herself into. And I think a lot of people during uh like when cryptos were going crazy, when NFTs were going crazy, a lot of people who just didn't know enough about enough got themselves associated with those kinds of things.
Mhm.
I think there's less of an excuse for her because like the information was accessible at that point. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, this is a mature market at that point for sure. A lot of
yes,
people already made that mistake.
totally, right? So and ChatGPT probably even existed. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you
Yes,
could have just
facts.
talked to it and been like, what could go wrong here?" So and then now she's on a press tour to try to basically absolve herself from that. So she went
Mhm.
on Channel 5 News,
Oh, wow.
and the whole reason she did that was to have, like, plausible deniability.
Hmm.
She go on and watch it through that lens, it's all you'll see. Like, she only did that so that she could make herself look as I'm not saying she's dumb, I'm saying she tried to look dumb so she can say, "I didn't know what was going on here. This wasn't my fault."
Yeah, that's super fascinating. And to be fair, once again, there are people who are absolutely preying on people like that, right? That's their whole
Oh,
thing. Uh, what was the guy? Like there was that guy that got the president of Argentina to launch a meme coin, right? Didn't that happen a couple of years ago as well?
repeat that, sorry?
The guy who he ended up getting exposed by CoffeeZilla because he got the Argentinian president
Oh,
to
yeah, yeah,
launch a
yeah.
meme coin.
Yeah, 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 and he literally full on, like, exposed himself, like, while on call.
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, it was a rug pull," like,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, no, more or less, almost identical, yeah.
Yeah,
So
but yeah, so, like, people are preying on these people, to be fair, and, like, must be super convincing. I don't know, we know, right, that this stuff is not the way to go. What was the comment that you saw?
nothing, a producer threw it up. It was just someone talking
Okay,
about
okay.
another podcast they like. You said, yeah, what else should I say? What else did I not explain clearly enough? What else?
No, well, just the you talk a little bit about, like, the affiliate thing on the
Mm,
Tate side, but break down a little bit more of, yeah, how exactly are people making money? Because there's also the fact that YouTube was really the only platform that actually paid
for
back in the day.
views.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for just views
Natively.
natively
Yes.
on the platform.
Yeah. Because when
Whereas
you
n
really
and yeah, so all that too. Yeah, sorry.
no, you're good. Anything else that you want to say?
Nope.
Okay, cool. So the whole media game, like for as long as media's been commercialized, it's always been you're selling access to these eyeballs, and there's a price associated with that, given on the form factor, the depth of relationship, etc. So when social media became a thing, the fact that you could get, like, the fact that you still can get eyeballs like for free is a massive thing. One, but for these platforms, the fact that they're getting the labor of the content creation for free is crazy. Like that, like it's a wild phenomenon that we've never really seen in history before
Mhm.
across the board. So it's extractive to a degree from these platforms' perspectives, but they're also giving us access to people that we could have never ever had before. Like truly never. So you're right. Like, why did people ride or die for YouTube so much? Is because figuring out how to make money from eyeballs is a fairly complicated thing. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, if I had eyeballs, I'd instantly have money." It's like, no, you wouldn't, buddy. I promise you. Go start a business tomorrow. I'll give you 1,000,000 views. Tell me how well you monetize that. Right? Like, there's so many things that go into it, and I was naive into that as well, and I under monetized my ability to grow pages and stuff super well. Like, I was growing theme pages to like tens of thousands of followers and charging like $100 for a promo, and the person was making like thousands. Right? Like, that's just how it went.
Facts.
So,
Yeah.
so why people loved YouTube so much is because if you grew an audience there, YouTube would give you a percentage of the ad revenue. What's the split right now?
It's 55-45.
55, 45.
So
Okay.
you get to keep 55 as the creator, 55%.
So that's so much better than most platforms because most don't even pay period.
Exactly.
Like, it's insane that you have had multiple clips get like millions of views and you made $0.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that's that's crazy, dude.
Yeah. And to be clear, right, the reason why that's crazy, everybody, is because YouTube's getting paid. Like when people are scrolling and they're looking through and they're seeing ads in between, I mean, Instagram, I don't think what I
Instagram.
said. Instagram is getting paid. Sorry.
No, you're good.
And so, yeah. And so what Ben is pointing out is that these platforms are able to run ads for content that they are not creating at all
Mhm.
because of this idea of, well, you technically need our back end system as the business to be able to monetize you getting these views anyways.
It's
So yeah.
and that is a fair statement, but it's also pretty naive to not realize what the algorithm created, and also it's very convenient for them to, like, take that stance because they can willingly say, like, "Oh" how do I phrase this properly? I was talking with my mom on the phone this morning about, like, how basically robots already run the world because the algorithms that are these platforms
Yes.
basically create behavior through incentivization of exposure.
100%.
Right? So
Yes.
I've talked about this so many times, but there's so many people out there that even consider themselves free thinkers, and that is their brand, and they don't realize that was created by a robot,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Wild concept. So this is a great question. I don't even know this because I don't post shorts. Does 55/45 apply to shorts revenue as well?
On YouTube, yes.
Cool.
Pretty much,
Interesting.
yeah. That
Cool. Cool. So yeah, so Keith posted videos on Instagram. He's crushing it there. He's got some that have like, what's your highest viewed one? Like 10 million at
six
this point?
6.3, six point
Okay.
three.
That's still, guys, I want you to like, I want you to Google, like, let's say Michigan Stadium, because I go there all the time. There's like
Yeah.
115,000 people in there.
Yeah.
He had that times what? Like, what's,
60.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's insane. And he made $0. That's crazy. So to get back to the money piece, is that's why people loved YouTube for a very long time. That's why they had a lot of goodwill, and that's also why they won the whole long form content game. Is because they were willing to give enough of the pie. They aligned the incentives for this new industry. That's why they had ride or die things for. I'm in the free thinker echo chamber.
Yeah.
Um, isn't that an oxymoron?
It's
Uh,
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
that's great.
Because that's
Uh,
exactly what it is, though.
yeah. What else was I gonna say? So that was a massive business decision that basically gave them why that's why they're still here, right? Is because they had so many people that were like unwilling to go anywhere else. And that's the problem that anybody coming in to compete with YouTube has is that legacy, that goodwill, and then that volume of content. Like, why does
Mhm.
Rumble suck so bad? Is because, well, first of all, the experience isn't very good, but also like there's just not the sheer volume of content. And so if people go to a place for a specific thing, whether it's entertainment or to solve a problem, if you don't have a good thing to feed or you don't have the underlying mechanism to get that in front of them, they can't spend time there, they leave. So YouTube had that really sorted out. Instagram really didn't, and TikTok didn't. And there was a lot of people who couldn't really figure out the whole YouTube game because it was substantially more difficult. Because not only do I have to make a good video, I also have to conceptualize how to best package this to make you want to click on their screen, right?
Mhm.
That's an unbelievably difficult task because
Mhm.
it's not in a vacuum. Like people think about it like this. They're like, oh, they think it's like the problem is they think it's like 1 or 0, like, they think it's binary. They're like, "Oh, I will watch this or I won't watch." It's like, you're not considering so many variables. You're on the screen with their people they have deep relationships with. You're on the screen competing for that click when the people they hate, the people they're interested in, like the hottest people on the planet, right? It's a very difficult thing. And so figuring out YouTube was a very difficult thing. So a lot of people did like what I did, which was taking advantage of these short form platforms, but you couldn't make money. So what you had to basically do was build these big audiences and funnel it to some sort of business. So if you were a business person back then, bro, you could have printed money with say like Facebook ads were really underpriced at the time as well, but also just sheer organic marketing on like theme pages.
Mhm.
I got rinsed, dude. Like understanding business now, but I didn't have the leverage of having the business in the way to monetize. So I would sell shout outs, promos, or affiliates. So an affiliate offer is basically I'm going to do all the work to get the attention and bring the lead or the customer to an existing business. And so I get a small referral fee for doing that.
Mhm.
Okay. That was a massive thing on the internet. It worked way better than it now does. TikTok Shop kind of brought it back a decent amount, but it used to be a massive thing on the internet. And it was one of the only ways that people could make money.
Mhm.
And so when clipping became a thing for Andrew Tate in particular, the fact that they natively had an affiliate program, basically, there's a lot of people who had these skills who were growing theme pages like I was for fun, but they didn't know the business part. Now they're like, okay, now I can directly make money from this. And so, why it's such a big deal? Have you had your ears lowered or have you had a haircut? I had a haircut. Um, ears lowered is wild. But what else was I going to say? So, that's a very big change to things because it's social media was always a high leverage endeavor, right? So the book that I talk about all the time is Naval
Charlie.
Ravikant's,
Oh, okay.
whatever the frick it's called.
Almanac.
Yes. So leverage is basically there's tools that things that exist in the world and in business that if you know a skill, it can work beyond the time in which you invested into it because you're so much better at something that can work beyond your time. So doing it once is higher leverage, right? So with social media, like why it sucked that you couldn't make money is because if you were good, you weren't just good, you were so much better than everyone else,
Mm,
right? Because the numbers would show you this. But if you couldn't make a way to make money, it didn't even matter. So for a lot of these people, they're like, and they also talk about it a lot, like, "Oh, I made this much money for Andrew Tate." And so then what does that happen? People go on Twitter. A lot of this went down on Twitter. So somebody would go on and say, "I'm clipping for Andrew Tate and I made X amount of money."
got you.
Okay. Then all these other people who are their friends, because a lot of these communities got built on like Discord servers of people who were like early internet people, not
Mhm,
early internet, but like social media people.
mhm, mhm.
So the word spreads very fast and the disproportionate like skill level is massive. And so if you can say, I can guaranteed make you some money, you're going to attract some amazing talent from all across the world. That's what happened for this. That's why Andrew Tate had this army of people who were pretty good at cutting clips, spamming his shit out there just to make money for themselves. So they didn't care about what he was saying.
Right. So to fully break it down, you have Andrew Tate as an internet personality who, for one, is extremely controversial, but two, isn't necessarily actually good at getting his messages spread.
Yes.
What did he do? He has a course. Okay. He
Yes.
has this course about how to make money online.
Yes.
And so in this course, he says, oh, here's a way that you guys can make money online. You guys can promote my content and get an affiliate fee or a referral fee every time someone signs up from the content that you have created.
Yes.
So if you promote my stuff, if you use my likeness and images to go out there and get a buzz, you'll get paid as a referral fee.
Yes.
And so those people started going online in the Twitter and building up these Discord chat rooms saying, hey, dude, like I'm doing this and I'm making this money, da da da. And people are
Yes.
like, oh my goodness, I need to do this too. And then you get
Precisely.
this spreading mechanism of people that become affiliates for this program that helps accelerate his growth.
Fantastic explanation. And why it spreads so fast is because everyone thinks they're a snowflake. We're not that different. If something works, it works.
Yeah.
So basically, and there were so many evolutions of this after the fact that people basically started like with this and then use it in different ways to make money. That's why you see so much copycat content out there. It's because it consistently works. And so if you continue to incentivize regurgitated content, it's going to continue to get shown. And so one guy shortly after did the same sort of thing with UGC creators. UGC stands for user generated content. So think about someone that is just like me or you going and saying, who do I give some free promo to? Like, I love this microphone. Okay. So I'm like, oh, I'm making a video on TikTok being like, this microphone changed my life, whatever, whatever. Obviously, we'd make it a lot better, whatever. So UGC became a big industry for people who wanted to become creators, but again, couldn't solve the monetization piece. Yes, thank you for your assistance here. And so what he did is he did the same sort of premise where he got a lot of UGC creators in the Discord. It's a different guy, not Andrew Tate, but he took the Andrew Tate method. I don't even think Andrew Tate came up with it, so like we should probably call it somebody else's method. But they did the same sort of thing where they had all of these UGC creators that were affiliates for his chocolate brand. And then basically what they would do is they also had an affiliate code. So they got paid based on how many referrals they had. But because they would share the ones that won in the Discord chat, it made it so much easier for everyone else to win too. That
Mm-hmm.
was really like the genius there. Because when you make it easy for someone who's not as skilled and not as creative to get views, they just will.
True.
Right. So like the age of like business, and you guys will see this and we'll talk about this way more, is really about how do you make your product super easy to talk about and share,
Mm.
right? So that comes down to the ideas. Like every idea that I come to and understanding that that's like the 95.5 of business at this point, I always think from that first. And if the idea doesn't have that inherently built in, I don't touch it.
Super interesting. And by the way, when these people are going to these discords and like telling people, "Oh, I'm making this much money doing this," on Twitter, I could kind of get it because in Twitter, you kind of get clout for that. You know what I'm saying? Like people are like, "Oh, this
Yes.
guy knows what he's talking about when it comes to making money online. I should follow him and just
Mhm.
like whatever he does, I'll buy it or be around it." What other incentive do people have? Because I remember back in the affiliate days, like that was like you didn't want to share anything. Like back in those days, you had to go on like these affiliate forums and stuff and like try to find the answers to like how are people doing this. And it was like super hush hush if you had a winning way to do it.
I think the half life of things has shrunk, meaning like things die faster, and I also think the insecurity levels have gone up. So people talk about their wins a lot more because they need to feel validated, right? Like they
Mm.
say that they were doing it because they wanted the money in their bank account, but they really were doing it because they wanted to be seen as somebody who had the money in their bank account.
Plus, in a lot of ways, too, when I think about it, the competition is a little bit different when you're thinking about, because a lot of the stuff that I was looking at was like the paid media side. And so if you're competing with someone on the same keywords or the same
Very different
interests
equation.
on
Yeah,
Facebook, it is technically very different because like you're
totally.
literally making your costs go up if someone's competing with you.
And that's a really good point that you brought that up because before this happened, paid media was the game,
Right.
right? It's but because of that, only people who had money could play.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that also changed the
Hmm.
equation entirely, right? So
Hmm.
whereas this opened up the world for people who didn't have money could participate and then also make some money. And so like to get to the point where we're at now, like why is clavicular so damn big is because they've modernized the concept of clipping. And because with an affiliate thing, like affiliate converting for an affiliate is a little more difficult because not only do you need to get the views, you also need to get those views in a way that converts or creates an action from like watching this to going and buying and also buying with your link. So
Right.
as someone who's generated literally millions of dollars for brands as an affiliate, like multiple millions of I tracked,
Crazy.
I got credit for probably like maybe 50% of the money I actually generated.
Wow.
Because the attribution issue is massive, right?
Hmm.
How many think of the user behavior of when people buy anything, right? They come and watch the video, they watch all the work that I've done to consolidate, and then they usually stew on it for a little bit. Some will pull the trigger right away. Some people will go to Google, not use my link, and then I don't get credit.
Hmm.
Right? So there was this whole attribution thing. That's why like getting affiliates now is so much more difficult because anybody who's good at this, they look at this and they're like, why would I do this? I'm getting rinsed.
Mm.
Right. So
That's
like,
so interesting. Yeah.
that's why I don't touch affiliates anymore. I get reached out to all the time. And I'm like, unless you throw me some crazy offer, I'm not going to waste my time on this because I literally made people millionaires and I only made like hundreds of thousands. Right.
Right.
So that's the problem. So what they did now is they just natively pay a CPM. So a CPM is basically like a fee that you get sheerly based on views. So now these people, all they have to do is get the views. And then they get paid based on how many views they got.
Fascinating.
Yes.
So in marketing world, you hear this term CPM, which is cost per mil, which is mil is French, I believe, for 1,000.
Yes, you're correct.
And so for every 1,000 views that you get, this is how much you're paying.
Yes.
Now, this was normally what you look at in terms of your paid advertising costs, right? Like even back in TV and radio days, it's like how much are you paying to reach 1,000 people, just to reach them, not to have them do anything in particular, not to do anything. It's just if I'm getting 1,000 views, how much am I paying? And from an advertiser perspective, I'm thinking, okay, what is the if my goal is reach, because it's not always your goal, but sometimes your goal is just reach,
Mhm.
and in that situation, then what is the lowest cost per mil that I can get for my video, my print ad, my whatever it may be?
Mhm.
And so, um, so now to see that we're at a place now where it's not even the paid media side. You're not necessarily paying just to get access to eyeballs in the same way. It's a very different way.
Mhm.
It's kind of hard for me to explain why that's so different. But these social media platforms, right? You're now going straight to people who are going to clip for you, period. They're going to go out there and like generate the audience, right? Basically. And you're saying, well, as long as you hit a certain amount of views, I'll pay you for every 1,000 views that you get versus going to a radio station and them saying how much you're going to get. Like they're saying, this is how many eyeballs I'm going to give you
You can't prove that either.
on the radio.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they'd be able to prove it. They'd be able to prove it to some
I
degree.
worked in out of home media. They're full of shit. They say because like yes, they might be able to say like, "Oh, we touched this many people."
Mhm.
If it's on in a room of a million people and it's the background track of like when you're shopping or something like that, like does that count?
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Fair. And I guess that's why, once again, this just pure reach is the only
Yes.
thing that you can take away from that. And that's why it's really hard to, yeah, it's very difficult to attribute that from the business perspective, what that is going to even mean in terms of dollars. It's almost impossible,
Almost
really.
impossible.
But yeah, I do see what you're saying. It'd be really hard to, like, someone's at a bus stop and you got out of home media on the thing. Like, did I really see that? Like, I might have stood there, but I didn't see
Yeah.
that.
Totally. Yeah, and that's also crazy thing to consider that like people are like, oh, worried that AI is going to take over the world or take over all these jobs. There are still millions and millions and millions of dollars spent on out of home advertising that just doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? Because they had a relationship with the person, so they keep spending it as well.
Yeah. 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 Um, and so what Ben is describing here is there's a bunch of kids, imagine in a Discord server or whatever, and an influencer like Clavicular, their team comes into this Discord and they're like, look, guys, for every 1,000 views that you get, we'll pay you $5 or $2 or whatever it is. And so their job is to now go out there and get 1,000 plus views on their thing, but really they'll set a minimum, right? So you've got to get at least 100,000 views for me to start paying you the CPM.
Mhm.
So you got people that are go out there, they'll start getting views, but unless they actually succeed, then they won't actually get paid.
Totally. So you're only attracting good people, right? The
Hmm.
second that you put in that minimum threshold, it pushes away the people who aren't going to be good. And as someone who's had to work with like a lot of people in the social media space, like there's such a gap between good and bad. So having something like that definitely does matter a lot. But that's and just to clarify, like if they're clipping for clavicular, it's taking moments from his existing long form stream and turning that into deliberate short form pieces of content.
Facts.
So that's what they do. And that's why things can go so mental so fast, is because so even the people that aren't on the organized way in which they're doing this, right? So like all the people in the Discord, like they actually had the opportunity to get paid, right? But there's also a lot of people that just copy things that are working or their theme pages for like different kinds of content, right?
Yes.
And so the
Yes.
same people that used to cut for Andrew Tate and were able to make a little bit of money that way, because some platforms do pay a little bit, like TikTok has the creator fund and whatever.
Hmm.
There's like going to be a lot of spillover of people that will start cutting clavicular clips because they effectively executed this clipping strategy, period. Right? Because if you reach a critical mass where now clavicular becomes a hook, you're guaranteeing people views across the board. And I can't not stress how much people love views,
So
even
what
if they're
you're
not getting
saying,
paid, man.
so what you're saying right now is there's people who, because Clavicular is just famous enough, they're just gonna clip his content just to get views and try to build an audience or whatever
Bro,
it may be.
there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people across the world where like they've heard clipping is a good thing. And so they're trying to, some of them might be trying to develop their skills.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they know that it's easier to do it if I have this person who's famous. So they'll cut the moment because the number on the screen to them matters a lot.
Right.
So then everyone, so he's getting free exposure. The platform is getting free stuff, and then the person's developing their skills or whatever, right? So it's also a lot less risky to clip things until you're blue in the face than it is to film yourself and
Hmm.
post and like not get views,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So where things, it's like how this really got crazy for clavicular in particular, everyone, is that so Twitch is the used to be, maybe still is, the biggest live stream platforming form on the planet. Okay,
Hmm.
their biggest competitor now is called Kick. Okay, Kick is where clavicular streams all the time. Twitch put their advertising dollars. I'm actually, we should dive into this after the fact. Like, why is clavicular so famous? Not just from a strategy point of view, but also like the psychology.
Psychology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you run a business, in today's attention economy, basically your distribution of capital, which is money, in terms of where you put that to try to get attention, will make or break your entire business. Okay. So you, as the person who runs the business, you have X amount of money to spend on growing that business through marketing and partnerships, whatever. Twitch made their partnerships in certain ways, which was like partnering for creators, like paying for exclusivity, stuff like that. Okay.
Mhm.
Kick is taking a different approach where they're basically putting all of their marketing dollars in terms of paying clippers for Kick creators.
Crazy.
So instead of paying for ads or paying for exclusivity or whatever, they're basically saying, if you do it with us, we're going to guarantee you we have this much of a budget for clipping.
Fire. For the live streamer, they're
Yes.
saying this is the benefit that you get from our platform is that we're going to help you get clippers that will
Yes.
make you famous, essentially.
Precisely. Yes.
Yeah.
And then also because if you are willing, because the crazy thing is that a lot of these people that are the best at this, Keith, they don't make that much money. Because a lot of the people who are really good at this shit, they're overseas.
Mm,
So they don't make that much money.
that's
So
true.
so if you're
Fair.
willing to marginally overpay you will get the best of the best,
Mm.
right? So they can come and be like, okay, we're paying you 25% more. And we're talking like dollars here, like literally like a few bucks, right? But you could get the best people. And when we're in this leverage game of the skill gap between somebody who's good and somebody who's bad is massive. If you get those good people, the snowball effect of that is absurd.
Right.
So that's why Kick is like blowing up and like, will it work out for them? Who knows? We'll see. But it's a smart, objectively smart business decision currently. Like for if you're optimizing for attention, I don't know if there's a
Mhm.
better place you could put the dollars.
Right. Totally, totally. Yeah, it's pretty genius to think that that's the new way of being able to offer, something unique to, yeah, to people to come to your platform,
Yeah.
right? Um, it's like even in Hollywood, that would probably make the most sense. It's like, you want to sign with my label? Like, I have a bunch of clippers that can make you famous. Like, honestly, that's probably what they should be doing.
100%, dude. 100%. And this is also why, like, I like our chances as we continue to build businesses here is because the people who could be making these decisions, they don't get it, man.
Facts, man.
They just don't get it. And
Yeah.
and they're so stuck in their own ways, or it would mean that they were also admitting that you're wrong now also means that you have to admit that you were wrong for the last 15 years.
And that's tough because this has been going on for a minute. You're right.
I've been trying to get into these play establishments for a very long time. And I was laughed at. I was even like disregarded from people family friends that knew I worked in marketing. They would shit on me for being social media. I'm not in like TV or movies. And I
Mm.
even people like who did follow the media route that I went to high school with or college, like they like looked down on me. The amount of condescending things that I heard over the years, and now like a lot of these people create content or they're generating and working for social media content initiatives.
Mhm, mhm. Right. Yeah, man. I've been reading this book from Simon Sinek called The Infinite Game. It's
Yes.
recommended on the podcast actually from Ari Gutman. And in the book he talks about, this is to relate back to these industries and these people that are leaders in these industries and just like completely ignoring the thing that's going to continue to swallow them up and all the leverage that they have. Um in the book, he talks about like, what is a CEO? You always know what a CFO is. You know what a CMO is. The chief financial officer, obviously, they handle the finances. The chief marketing officer, they handle the marketing. The chief operations officer, they handle the operations. What does the CEO? What does the chief executive officer do? And so he says, well, technically, what this is confusing about this role is that it's not what it sounds like. What it is a chief visionary officer,
Mm.
and the thing that person has to do is to basically look at what is the actual mission or cause of the business, and being able to understand that, no, by any means, essentially by any methods rather, um to achieve that thing that must be a just cause. It has like he has the five different things that must be, which one of them is like resilient through time
Mhm.
and technology and culture. And so one of the failures that some of these companies are making, whether it's in Hollywood in particular, probably going to be the biggest one because they're not playing this game in the same way. Even legacy businesses that just aren't understanding they have a website, but they don't have social media and just don't get it. It's like Blockbuster. Were you selling tapes, or were you selling the experience for someone to sit down with their loved ones and watch something that was entertaining? Right. And so what happens? Netflix eats their lunch. Kodak. Uh, were you making a camera, or were you allowing people to capture moments?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so those kinds of things, even Jim Collins' Good to Great also goes through a very similar thing in that book of like, what are you actually doing? And if you don't understand that, then you can absolutely get displaced. So, just want to touch on that.
Yeah, no, that was super well said, man, and that's so important to say, and hubris sets in when you're really successful,
Mhm.
right? And so that happens all the time. It's also why there will always be opportunity. I tweeted this, like, I think it was a few months ago where I was like, "The blueprint has never changed." It's like, be early, get underpaid, get so damn good that you just take it.
Mm,
It's always been that. It's
mm.
literally always been that, but how many people are willing to do that? But I also do have great news for everybody. That's shrinking too, in terms of how long you have to wait
Why is that?
because of the rate of change of technology, right? So, like, being
Gotcha.
obsolete is more extreme as the rate of change picks up, right? Like, the cost that someone will feel, because like, what
Mm.
most of these people that we're discussing, they don't feel the pain until it's directly in their face, and the people below them are, like, screaming at them, right? The rate of time that it will take for that person to come in will be just way faster. because
Super interesting. Yeah.
because like how many hurdles did we have to jump through before? Like a lot of it was tech, right? A lot of it was like when the tech, even the show, right? I said like, why were we able to do a show like this? Because the tech that we're using, albeit we've had some freaking issues with it, bro, the amount of times I've been back and forth with them, it's driving me mental. They did give us a free year though.
Okay.
Yeah,
Heard.
yeah.
Heard.
Everything okay, Asipa? It's loud.
Okay. I mean, you should probably because
Can't you
I
just do
haven't
it
done
manually?
anything. Okay. Okay.
Okay, cool.
I'll try my
Um,
best.
but yeah, uh, now that question of like when will the tech catch up? Go build it, right? Like, if you're really smart, you can. You used to need like tons of developers, and like people don't act because unless you're in the weeds building software businesses like we are. Um, Sorry, I'll address this. Sorry to mention Starbucks again, but I understand their original content marketing plan was not about coffee. It was about community.
Mm,
Brilliant for the time. Oh, they crushed marketing. They
yes.
absolutely crushed it. But any brand like that is cool will always become uncool. It's just a matter of time. And how long does that take?
Because their thing was what, like the second home, or what is it called? The third space, or whatever it is,
They
where
crushed
it's
it.
like, yeah, you're not at home, but you're also not at the office.
Yes.
Where's
And they
that third
also
place?
made, totally well said. They also made their brand a status symbol to walk around with that, right? So it
Mm,
became a portable reflection of status.
mm,
No one else with coffee had really done that before, right? It was like generic packaging, and we're going to try to basically charge as little as we can. We understand that this is like a product that you're addicted to, so like that's awesome. We're going to get the recurring business, but we're going to only charge what we know we can because there's no additional benefit to the utility of this, right? You're buying this because you're addicted, so we're going to sell that. When they change the whole experience to I'm buying this and paying more because I can,
mm.
completely changed the dynamic of cafes across the world.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't dug too deep into what they've done, but I mean, it's certainly is fascinating.
There's a masterclass course by the creator of Starbucks that's worth watching.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Howard Schultz did that? Is that who it
It
is?
may not be it's somebody who was involved. It might have
Yeah,
been a
yeah.
different executive,
That's
but
crazy, dude.
it was good. I got masterclass for that and it was pretty good. But
Wow.
what was the point that I was making just before that?
Mm,
Uh, oh yeah, here it is. So, like we always say to people like I think people think we're exaggerating in terms of like how much AI has changed businesses. Because they're not in it, right? That's why I'm really excited to share some of the stuff that we're gonna be building publicly and explaining how we did it and like loosely explaining how much time and how many people were involved,
mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm.
Because this shit that we're doing now used to be so much harder and so much more expensive. That's why the consumer ended up getting screwed. Is because you needed so much upfront money. And so basically you had to involve people who were kind of pieces of shit, but they had the money, right? Because they had to fund this project, subsidize the losses, create the addiction, and build the infrastructure. So, like, let's say, let's say, case in point, to build Airbnb today, like the tech portion of that would have been at the time we're talking millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Okay, one smart engineer today could build that entire app from
Fair.
beginning to end, right? Like, it would still take months. I'm not gonna say like people are like, oh, you could one shot this thing, like that's horseshit. But one shot is an expression where you type in one prompt into something and you get the exact thing you're looking for. I don't know if AI will ever reach that point, but if you were really smart and you were really good, you could build Airbnb today and probably like from end to end under a year, right? Like well under
Right.
a year. I'm trying to be
Right.
like very cautious, right?
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So that is just a completely paradigm shifting thing where now when it gets good at these other little things that used to be blockers or gatekeepers to the opportunity to compete, right? Like let's say, Greg, actually, I want to touch this first. So Cross Central, don't keep up with AI updates. It's a total waste of time. It's like a futile endeavor. Don't focus on the what. Focus on the why, right? Like w- everybody has this thing in their brain that has been the reason they didn't get to what they want, right? In business, especially, identify what that thing was and how do I go find a specific way to implement this through this revolutionary technology to make that no longer an excuse. That's really what you should focus on here. Because like, why did I shift my whole approach from an agency to a software business is because I saw that the real arbitrage opportunity isn't me teaching myself how to code. It's the cost savings that were just created from this tool in the hands of someone who can.
Mm.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Right,
It's
right.
like, so like even my buddy who reached out to me, he's like, I want to start a software company. Shout out Zach, he's an awesome guy. He's like, which tool should I use? And I said, do you want me to be honest with you? You shouldn't use any of them. You should use somebody who's overseas, who's actually a trained engineer. You live in America,
Correct.
use those US dollars and go do it.
Yeah.
Right? Because even someone who like you, I think it's all circumstantial. Like if you have no money, then use the tools, build it yourself, learn.
Mhm.
But if you have any disposable income and you can help with other parts of the business, it would be so unbelievably stupid for you to build it yourself
Mm.
because you can get it done. But so much of this code across the internet is so full of vulnerabilities and issues that will cause them pain later. Like
True.
we could have built a lot of the products that we're building, Keith, in a fraction of the time, but with way more risk
Right.
because something would have gone wrong and you're stacking bad code on bad code. And then you have what we've discussed many times, tech debt.
Mhm.
So
And check that being you've built something that technically you can't use because it's somewhere lower in the stack of when you were creating it is like
yes,
messing up the whole rest of everything you built.
great point.
So it's basically unusable.
It's like a path, right? If every time that you're forced to create a decision, you're given like three options, let's say, or two,
Yes.
the fact that you made the first choice dictates what you can now make the next time, right? Like you can't go back without changing every other decision, which is fundamentally impossible,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
So that's a big thing. So basically, what I'm trying to say here, yeah, actually, would you let AI trade for you?
I mean, the answer to that is technically yes. In a way, in a way, that's what you're doing when you're indexing. Honestly,
True.
the market makers that you're paying the fee to trade for you on your behalf when you're indexing, like that's kind of what they're doing.
Hmm.
Just taking advantage of a little bit of arbitrage in between all of the buying and selling of the assets they have to do throughout the day, or a mutual fund, whatever you want to look at it as. So I wouldn't say no, but at the same time, like I wouldn't build the AI to trade for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I
Hmm.
would either have someone who's just got the reputation, the data, and they've done it and they know what they're doing, I'd have them do it.
Got
But
it.
yeah, and I'm not recommending people do that because there's so many scams out there, to be clear.
Totally. Yeah, it's the nature with all this stuff, like people throwing AI into anything and like saying it's good, right? Like, so yeah, that's I appreciate you answering that. And so here's a good question. It's like, where do you find overseas talent with these skills? So I was on the same conversation that I had with my mom. I was explaining things, and I was like, because people are like, oh, people would shit on me being like, oh, why don't you hire domestically? It's like that'd be a horrible business decision because like bad employees exist everywhere. And at
Mm,
least when I hire a bad employee that's overseas, like I can cut that loss with significantly less red tape,
for sure.
right? It's shocking how few people are actually good at what they do. Like unbelievably shocking.
Mm,
Uh, so where can you find people like this? So it's you can use platforms like Upwork, but the biggest sauce, man, is Twitter.
mm,
Because what people don't get, and like I'll share this because we're the homies, but like I didn't tell even like that many business people about this because it was a hack for a long time, but we're good. So basically, people need to read the room more in life, but you can also do that with such a high leveraged way when you're reading the room for a social platform at large. There are so many incredibly highly skilled people that spend all of their time trying to fight for clients on Twitter,
mm,
right? So when the skill level for the entire platform is up here, a 7 out of 10 is irrelevant, right? But that same 7 out of 10 on every other platform would be a 10 out of 10, relatively speaking. So basically, they compete themselves down in the market, both in cost and availability.
right.
So if you know how to navigate that platform, because their confidence even isn't even as high because like there's so many times where I've hired people and I'm like, you know, you're good, right? Like, I've had to basically assure them that they're very good at what they do because they're competing against the best of the best who are flexing numbers and sometimes even lying, right? On Twitter. So that's where you can find some unbelievable talent. And if someone's not willing to like document their work, that's usually a pretty good indication that they're not that good. right? So like if you like our former lead designer, he used to post on Twitter all the time. That's how I found him, Armin, right?
Mhm,
He had the
mhm.
courage to be posting all the time that he was learning, that he was growing. That's also the thing that I always say to young people who say, I can't get a job. I've never found someone who committed to getting better and documented the process on social media that didn't have a job or build a business. I've never met that someone in that situation. And I can get you can be like, "Oh, I don't wanna do that." Cool. Like, that's just the new resume, right? Like, I'm sure people before that resumes existed, they're like, "I gotta write this shit down, fuck that." And then it became the norm. That's just become the new norm.
Makes sense, man. Um, you're welcome in, Lucas. I know you said something earlier about coming in. What up, dog? You seeing something in the chat?
He said, "I heard a stat earlier that 60 to 70% of trades in the stock markets are done by algorithms." I would not be shocked by that whatsoever.
Not at
I feel
all.
like it might even be higher than that.
Right. um,
So, but, also, I think it was Cross Central who asked the whole, like,
mhm.
overseas talent thing. That's
Oh,
definitely a skill in and of itself because determining like, all of these things that we're discussing here, the taste word gets brought up a lot in the age of AI because the cost of a good decision is still very high, but, like, the value of a right decision is even bigger,
mm,
right? So the value of taste has just been dramatically amplified, right? Or word of
that's
mouth works for me. Yeah, word of mouth can be fantastic, but if you're looking for someone who's like who you want exclusively with your stuff, like a full-time employee or like a full-time contract or whatever, it does make things a little bit different. But for like one-off work, word of mouth is a fantastic thing. My whole agency, like I never even really made that much content advertising my agency. It was almost exclusively from referrals, a guy who white labeled my stuff, and then word of mouth.
what were you saying before that? You were responding to Cross Central. You said something.
I don't know.
Oh, soft skills is what I was going to talk about.
Mm.
So yeah, so AI continues to be this massive thing. I'm super glad that I spent some of my time in high school like reading books about leadership and like psychology and things like that because I think that also becomes really important in this age of AI. Is like I mean, at least in this example that you're giving of like, okay, if I'm going to hire someone from overseas, you really need to be able to like sniff out like, is this person going to be the kind of person that's up to the standards that you have that you want? Are there someone who's going to go above and beyond? To what degree? And being able to figure that out fast, right? Because you're competing with people that have that experience or whatever, and so on. So, yeah, in general, some moats can always be being able to manage people and deal with people in this AI age as well. I think sometimes that can be discounted. It's like you're about to be competing with something that is the highest level of intelligence that humanity's ever seen. That's probably going to be a lot smarter than you. So actually, what becomes more relevant is like EQ and your ability to talk to people and engage in those ways.
No, man, I would completely agree with that. And the video that you just posted about the guy who was talking about the decline of cognitive function, whatever
Mhm,
it was,
mhm, mhm.
I also debated that with my mom a little bit today because she's like, people are like so dumb these days. And I was like, I actually would very like adamantly disagree with that. I think people are way smarter than they've ever been, probably in history, just on the dumbest shit. Right, like, think about how much more people know about stuff that doesn't matter.
Mm,
And also, like, people get to decide, like, what does and doesn't matter for them, but
mhm.
I don't th I don't think that's true. I just think that on the tests that they're saying would test cognitive decline, did that ever really show that people were intelligent, for one? Like, right? Because it's like intelligent in what context? And then 2, is it because they're dumber or they care even less? Would be another thing that too, like,
Mm,
people don't like, a lot of these things that would develop IQ in the way that we would normally define it in the application for, like, the business world, like, kids don't care anymore because the value, like, the promise of you go work hard in school, you get a good job, like, it's now so glaringly obvious that that's horseshit.
right.
That promise is gone, so how do you expect kids to do something that we never wanted to do in the first place? Like, if I wasn't good at school, I would have been diagnosed with ADHD, right? But because I wasn't a problem and I did well in school, "Ben's fine, he's just a troublemaker."
Mhm.
Right? But the kids who had the same sort of temperament as me because it's called being a freaking kid, and they weren't good at school, they got blasted with drugs.
Right.
Right? I remember walking down with some of my friends who were just like me, but I had better grades than them. So the teacher's like, "Oh, it's so dumb how we made that association. Like, as long as you only have a problem if the academics aren't good."
Yeah. 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 I didn't see too many examples of it. And also I've never done any research on like all of those types of diseases. I just remember getting to high school and like everyone kind of like spilling the beans on this idea of like people being overdiagnosed and like this
Mhm,
is like a big pharma thing and so on. And that just always made sense to me. Like when you really think about it, like you've got kids that are
mhm.
on drugs.
And the
Like
reason for that is because they don't wanna sit down and learn about math? Who the hell wants to do that? They just have the balls to run around.
right. Yeah. So very, very interesting stuff.
This
But
is really good.
mhm,
AI has taught me to ask way better questions.
nice.
Your life will be dictated by the quality of questions that you ask, right? And now when you have someone who can answer those 24/7, that also gets amplified. That's also the exponential thing, right? I was so blessed that I basically had ChatGPT before everyone else had ChatGPT because my grandpa was like the smartest person I've ever met in my life. And
Mm,
so I would sit down with him for literally like 3 hours at a time, asking every question that ever came to my head, and he had the answer. So that's
mm.
dude, that was a freaking cheat code, dude. Like, literally, I owe my grandpa, his name's Keith too, so, like, 2 of the smartest people I know are named Keith.
Hey.
And I would just drill him with questions, dude. And if he ever didn't have the answer, the next time I went, he would use the computer, and he got it for me.
At what age did you start to realize that you had an oracle?
Like 4.
Oh,
'Cause
wow.
I was always asking questions to everyone, and I saw that people didn't have the answer or that they were lying to me about it.
Wow.
He was the only person that I ever talked to where he actually knew what he was saying. Because he talked like we've had to talk about this before, right? Like, when you know what you're saying is right, you do have a different level of energy, frequency, whatever. And
Mhm.
versus when you're lying or like trying to convince someone that you know what you're talking about, there's this kind of like irrefutable comfort that comes from saying something you know is true,
Right.
right? And so he just exclusively spoke with that because he was a fucking genius.
That's crazy, man.
You know, he's so smart, and he didn't even graduate high school, bro.
Wow. I'm just picturing, like, the kid who's always asking questions, and then you typically get kind of basically disincentivized to do so because,
Oh,
someone's either gonna get mad
every time.
because they don't know or just because 'cause they're tired or annoyed or whatever. But if you've got someone that's just, like, firing back at you, like, that's crazy.
He was the only one that was like that. I tried to have that relationship with everybody that I ever met, and it would lead to what you were saying, right? If it was men, it was typically an ego thing, being like, "I don't have the answer, so screw you for asking the question."
Right.
And if it was women, it was just typically like, "Why do you care about that?"
Mm,
Which is fair, but I always cared about a lot, so I was always asking questions, and, yeah, I think it's one of the biggest problems that we have for society at large is, like, a high cost to questions. I think you only solve that through confidence in yourself, right? Because it's not an indictment on you to not have the answer. But we've
right.
been groomed where if everything's a test, right? You feel like you're a failure if you don't have the answer. I stole that largely from Kanye, but it's true, right?
Yeah, it makes sense, it makes sense. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the other context that I've seen that come up because it came up for me
That's so
somewhere,
good.
but what'd you see?
Just what a sale saying that they had a father with a lot of wisdom, but that's a great piece too. They always challenged you to come up with your own answers. My
Mm,
grandpa did a lot of that too, but some of them
mhm,
it was like fact or fiction, right? So like I couldn't pull it out of the ether. Do you know what I'm
mhm,
saying? It's something you
mhm,
either know or you don't. It wasn't like deductive reasoning type stuff.
mhm, mhm.
But sorry, I
But
cut
no,
you off. What you're saying?
no, but that's super cool. 'Cause that's also really important as well. It's like trying to lead someone to their own ways of thinking through how do you find the answer to some of these things, right? Um, and how to think, right, is something that's super important. I'm super excited. I hope to one day be in a position to navigate those types of things because I think it's a very I
As
don't
a
know, yeah, you can
parent?
have a lot of yeah, you can have a lot of impact on
Oh,
people through that, so that's
it's
super
the
cool
whole
that you had
thing.
that.
Yeah. And this also there were very few people that had these skills in general, but then when this pacifier, like this cognitive pacifier was created, they've atrophied like crazy.
Mm,
So that's why if you do become someone who can actually conduct like thought analysis and do deductive reasoning, your competition is like very easy to beat because so many people are just thinking about their problems all day that they don't understand the bigger picture, right? Like people would rather yell about the 20% they think they understand than try to acquire the other 80.
mm,
And so, yeah, the teaching people how to think is the most important thing. But if someone can't understand the lesson that you're trying to teach, you're always an asshole every time, right? So it is a high social cost to teach people how to do those things. That's why it kind of typically has to be done by a parent because the kid can't leave. Do you know what I'm saying?
right.
He's forced to
Yeah.
take the lesson. He can hate you while he's screaming into his pillow, but he's got to deal with you again the next day. Whereas like a friend, you can get a new one. A job you can quit if it's your boss, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing right now is people just running away from confrontation and stuff. And I mean, you were kind of saying this already earlier when it comes to just being able to ask questions and stuff and that not leading to a conflict or anything like that. Um, like you've said, the social cost is too high to question things or have certain conversations. And then eventually, yeah, you just kind of get
Mhm.
the perfect example is like, um, I'm going to ask Google. We're in the middle of an argument, so I'm going to ask Google. I'm going to ask ChatGPT, and then it gives you an answer, and it satisfies you because of the way that you asked the question in the first place. And
Mhm.
so you've actually not really gotten anywhere.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's something for sure to keep an eye on.
I think that was always, to a degree, a societal feature, but it's just been exacerbated by the tools that we now have. Right? Like if you think about who was making the rules of the road, literally and figuratively, that you would want obedient people that didn't question that many things, right?
Hmm.
But then when there's unlimited access to information, how do you maintain that same sort of end result is make everything polarizing in black or white. Because then it's like that's the craziest shit, man. Is that go ahead, go.
The FBI just came out with something yesterday. Now, oof, I need to actually do the research on this. Um, but they just came out with this conviction or indictment, I believe. Of course, it's gated against the Southern Poverty Law Center.
What the heck is
Okay.
that?
So in the United States, okay, now I'm not actually an expert on this, but essentially it's one of the older civil rights sorts of organizations.
Cool.
And so, look, there's going to be a lot of politics in this, but the say, I'm not trying to come up with what happened, but what we are coming up with is the incentives of this type of behavior. So, what may have been happening here, and once again, this is, I believe, been settled in court. All
Wow.
right, is that um, basically they're saying that the civil rights organization defrauded its donors by funding the extremism it claimed to be fighting.
Wow.
Okay. Once again, I'm imagining that this is going to get super political because this is this administration's, FBI, right?
Mm.
So anything that they do, I get it. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be on their side in any way. You know what I mean? But this is what the charges are. And so I don't know the exact organizations, but let's just imagine play here that the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is supposed to be fighting extremism and racism and so on, has potentially been legitimately funding the KKK. That's what they've been charged with by the FBI. I forget exactly what I was coming up with to connect that to what you were saying, but something around the ideas of just like um, debate and where it's coming from, choking, getting people divided and like that kind of being the incentive to some degree, making things as black and white as possible. Meanwhile, the only reason that this organization potentially was doing this was to extract more money, right? But like this is like the flagship institution for trying to fight this. I don't know how to equivocate, but maybe it would be like there's a lot of religious types of organizations like this in the US that do a similar type of thing, trying to uh, def- I won't even use the language, but like trying to prevent people from doing racist stuff.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, like incentives are all crazy when you have this system that we have in the United States with how whatever. It's wild to think about. Division being something that is profitable. The end.
It's wildly profitable, and it's also great for maintaining control, right? And
Mhm,
if you follow it up, like it comes down to printing money, man.
mhm.
It all comes down to who controls the money, right? Because every incentive structure that we're discussing, every single one of them, what would people say? I have to do this. Even people that are like not willingly, I guess, like that would rather not. Their end justification will always be, I have to do this, otherwise my family doesn't do this. I go homeless, right? Like homelessness and poverty is a feature of the system. It's not a bug.
I'm trying to think of the best way to connect it all in because, like, so money printing and also this inflationary system, right? As Jeff Booth would describe it as, you always are needing more money to pay back the debts that are being
Yes.
created through the printing of the money.
Yes.
Every dollar that's created today, like 90 something percent, a very large amount of the money that's in circulation today is actually just debt.
Debt.
It's just a loan that's been given to someone, and that turns into a deposit in a bank account. That loan, that money must be paid back with interest.
Mhm.
And so, what you essentially have to do is go out and fight amongst everyone else out there to get their dollars away from them so that you can pay back your debts.
Yes.
And so,
And on an
yeah,
energetic level, man, that's crazy to think about, right?
for sure.
Because again, I still hold true that I think most people are naturally good, right? But when the foundation that dictates almost all of human interaction is not, or potentially not, then everyone is touching that all the time, whether they're aware of it or not, right? And I think that like when you have money, you don't have to think about money, and like that's really what like solves a lot of the problems associated with it, right? And then some people get like way too obsessed, and that's all they care about. But yeah, the whole money system is so crazy.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's just all. I was listening to Sam Altman yesterday. He just did this podcast along with his co-founder, who I hadn't actually heard of, but of OpenAI, and they were sitting down talking to these people about just everything, and it's a pretty interesting conversation. And they're acknowledging this idea of like, are things going to get worse? He said
Mm,
there's three scenarios. He didn't. I don't think I got to the part where he gets into the third one, but this was. I wish I had this when talking to Peter Diamandis because this would have been fun. He said there's two major scenarios. One of them, when it comes to this whole AI thing, is that the floor gets elevated, but inequality gets worse.
mm.
Or he said the bottom level doesn't change, but inequality comes down. In my head, I don't compute how that would ever happen.
Yeah, I'm struggling to see how that gets there too.
um, I mean, the only way was if you just purely had a deflationary spiral.
Mm.
You know what I mean? To where prices actually come down for the end user. Which, once again, I don't see that technically happening without also causing a dropping of the floor.
I'm I'm seeing more people say out loud the fact that like they think Saylor is accumulating the Bitcoin for like some sort of other means of like transfer of ownership. And like we should run through that thought exercise that like what if like what Jeff Booth is saying happens, but it was like supposed to happen?
Which part of what he said?
Like if he's saying that we move to a Bitcoin standard,
Standard.
whatever, and that was like always the plan, even from these entities, right? Because like, what would the trickle down effects of that be on a societal level?
Of Bitcoin standard.
Yeah, right. Like, because if he's saying that like it's gonna basically take over, I would love to do that thought exercise with him, right? Because he's explaining like what, like basically like, why it will happen. But I think people need to think like orders of operations, right? So, go ahead.
that leads right back into the conversation that Sam Altman was having.
Okay.
But keep going.
No, no, if you got something, go for it.
It was just that, like, he's starting to acknowledge, like, okay, people are not happy with, what's going on
Shocker.
here.
Are you kidding me? Fucking idiot.
And so he was like, what he thinks that they've done wrong is they keep on saying, like, he did a really good job of saying this. He was like, AI is going to make the world better, or like, we're doing this AI thing, dot, dot, dot. It's going to be great. And he's like, okay, but what's the dot, dot, dot is what we need to do a better job of explaining. Like, how do we actually get there? Or like, what does that actually look like?
Bro, why do these smart people never consult marketing people ever? Bro, it's insane.
So yeah, he finally was acknowledging that now that he's had a couple of people like
Mol-
shoot at his home and
Molotov
whatnot.
cocktails or whatever coming his way.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, but back to that idea too of the two different scenarios. He was like, if the he says, look, I think the better thing is the first scenario. I'm pretty sure he was saying where the floor just goes up and inequality uh continues to rise. I think that's what he said. I mean, he was like, but I don't think that that's what feels right to people because they don't want to see the inequality get worse just to be pacified by a rising floor of living.
Mhm.
Anyways, all of that I brought up in the first place was thinking about like that also only has to really be that way to some degree in this inflationary system standard.
Yes.
If you find a way to actually bring costs of things down, and everyone's always just kind of coming up as far as the floor that they're on, and there's no new money that's being created to be given to the people that have already in that regard, could you have a system where um, people's lives get better and inequality doesn't necessarily get worse? I don't know, but uh, I don't know if Bitcoin does that, I guess is my real answer. But I do like the idea of having a deflationary monetary system where people are able to actually gain purchasing power again. That sounds proper to some degree.
That'd be freaking awesome. I think. Right? Like, because I do always wonder when people who complain about things that are broken, like people we've reached a point where that's like what most of people do all the time, but they never or very few not think about, okay, so then what's the solution, right? Like that's what I'm always obsessed with is problem solution. I think a lot of people are very problem oriented,
Mm,
where I'm always like, okay, so, and this only came from it's largely like from sports and business, right? Like if you're optimizing towards something, it was always okay. So I want this thing. I can clearly identify that. How do I get that, right? And for me, it was like a lot of people haven't had that moment where they were bad at something, but they really wanted it, and they went from being bad to good. I had that experience really young in life, and so I realized I was like, okay, so everything is just a problem that I have to optimize towards my desired solution. And so I think like that's another thing that we is very in short supply across society is that there's not that many solutions thinkers out there. There's a lot of problem spreaders, but there's very
yeah,
few people who are like also because but collectively, guys, like if we want to solve the problems, the people that actually try to solve them, we shit on them.
yeah, yeah. For sure. I'm remembering more of what Sam Altman was trying to say in his interview. It wasn't necessarily, I think, that one of those two scenarios, he definitely did say something about one of those two scenarios being better, but also what he was really trying to say is like the fight against the data centers was the thing that he was super
Oh, that'll be
um
so shitty, bro.
so here's his argument though. His argument is look, if we don't create more compute, then the price of compute is going to get higher. And if the price of compute gets higher, then only the rich people will be able to access it.
It's a very convenient narrative to
I
to
mean,
sell
it
for sure.
definitely works. Um,
That's just like a different angle of their existing sales pitch, though. Basically,
yeah, I mean, he's basically saying, look, we need more compute, and if we have more compute, then more people will be able to get it, and it won't be as bad as far as the inequality, because the guy who was interviewing them, they're actually very cool, by the way. I like what they're doing. I kind of forgot the name of the podcast, but it's like they were like people don't understand the gravity of what's happening here, and also like dang, I kind of forgot what I was saying, but essentially that's the thing is, oh, like having like superhumans walking around eventually. He's like, the host of the podcast was like, I'm afraid that there's gonna be like superhumans walking around. Like you guys know how to use this stuff way differently than I do, and so on and so forth.
That's kind of already existing on like a tiny scale, right?
100%.
Like, and I consider myself so like fortunate to have had the experiences that I did through life to get to this point where I've always been a question asker, right? Like problem solution is how my brain works all the time. And AI is very good at that. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's really the fundamental problem is that like all these people who are worried about losing their job, that's a total fair like concern. But how many of these people like their job and are good at their job?
Mm,
Almost none, dude. So like I
yeah.
get so like if I was these AI companies, all that I would be obsessing over is like that problem. Like the I would be spending all of my time thinking like, how do I explain to the person who works an admin job who actually does hate it? Like, how does this help them? That's
Mm,
like from the beginning. I would have always thought because for me, when I challenge a problem, I think first about what can go wrong. Right? And so how they didn't have somebody who was closer to the machine being like, "This is an inevitable problem when we're advertising that's gonna take your job," they might get mad about it. Like, no no shit, bro, right? So then I would have been like, "Okay, so then from day 1, can we align our messaging and solve that problem?" Or you don't even have to solve it. If it's like a perception problem, people just have to believe that you're actually focusing on it, right? Like from the very beginning, 'cause it wouldn't have gotten to this point if they weren't dunking on us 24/7. And then
right.
saying, "Don't worry, like the whole world has been screwed up. We take from you all the time, but we'll look out for you after this."
We'll solve cancer first, and then we'll
Yes.
worry about all that.
And then that's also like a pretty nefarious thing because everyone has been impacted by things like cancer or whatever, and so
Mm,
that's a very scary carrot to dangle because then it also becomes
mm.
the philosophical thing of like every
This is the
pro AI
fear.
person is like, "Do you not want your kids to live?"
It's that
So it's
same thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Very interesting, dude. Very interesting. Um, but yeah, yeah. Dang, I had something, but
What's up? You got something?
I had it. I lost it.
That's okay, it'll come back. But the data center things is gonna be a massive problem, especially because they're so overt, right? Like, shouts at me, I'm still not if Ben shouts at me, I'm still not leaving. Bro, I like you, monkey business, you're funny. Don't stress, I'm not gonna shout at you. But, the the data center thing, it's such like an obvious thing, it's so in your face. And then also now these everyday people where the cost of living crisis is already present, and then people are seeing their utility bills go up. And that's something that's just like a non-negotiable, right? So it's like
Right.
that's a very painful thing that you're forced to experience, not like once a year. It's every month.
Mm-hmm.
But that's so you're getting like sometimes people are getting like a printout basically of like how they're getting screwed by AI in their mind. Like that's how they're interpreting this data, right?
That's true. That's a fact, man. But yeah, like, oh, that was the thing I was gonna bring up. Is like, so now OpenAI buys a podcast to try to help the communication problem, and I'm just like, I don't think that that's gonna help you with that.
Well, that also further shows maybe that they don't truly grasp the problem because they purchased the thing that already had the people they've sold.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like that makes no sense as far as if you're trying to improve the conversations and how this is
Totally.
gonna help people's lives. It's like, bro, like the people that are there already feel that way.
Yeah, like, they should have done more of what who did Rogan partner with? I think it was Perplexity, maybe? He uses it as his lookup, so when he says, "Hey, Jamie." So if there's any I don't really wanna partner with any of the AI companies, but, like, something I maybe something like that would make more sense, right? Because it's not just about the numbers seeing it, it's about what do those numbers mean?
Yes. Yes. How does that improve your life and whatnot as well? So, um, yep. See some comments about the Lego videos.
I have
Have you
not
been
seen that.
seeing? You haven't seen any of them,
No, I try not to watch any of that.
but you do know what you're talking about, though.
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I don't watch it either. I mean, I
Okay.
watched the first couple because I was just like, oh, okay, what's going on here? But now it's just like, all right, this is too much.
This is another thing too that I was also explaining to my mom. I hit her with a lot of details this morning. I was like, she's asking me about the businesses and stuff like that, and she's like, "How much do you guys use AI?" And she's like, I've been hearing a lot about the Clad or the Cloud, whatever." And I was like, "It's Claude, mom." And then I was like, "We use it, but also I'm constantly reiterating that we don't want over reliance on this because we don't have control over the price point." Right? So at any given moment when these things are subsidized activities, a lot like the experiences that we've been having from Uber and Airbnb and all these things, when things used to be cheap, it's because somebody else was paying the bill. That's
Mhm.
happening right now in real time. And when does that stop? And the thing is, for all these people building these businesses, like if I had an AI driven business, I would be actively trying to sell that thing as soon as possible.
You know what's probably gonna happen though,
What's up?
and this is starting to make sense in my head now, is governments are they're gonna step in,
Oh,
and
they,
they're gonna this will
totally.
be UBI. Like,
Yeah,
that's kind of what Sam has been saying this whole time, technically.
fair. Yeah, Canada's already started. They're building their own.
Their
It'll be the
own,
first like supercomputer AI or whatever. They
okay.
started this initiative. They announced it literally yesterday.
Yep, yep, yep. Because both the cost of this stuff going crazy high would be horrific for inequality. Plus, you've got to do something about the energy equation. And I'll come back to your comment, brand one, because that's also like people cannot survive without it. You're going to have real issues and protests. So you've got to find a way to basically, if you're going to you could obviously just helicopter money, but that also could lead to so many other issues.
Mhm,
But assuming that people are going to, not lose all their jobs and they'll be able to use this technology to get a job, then what's going to have to happen is the price of being able to use these tools has to essentially be free to some degree.
it becomes like accessing water kind of thing.
Exactly. And that's exactly what he's been saying.
Yeah, yeah. But they forced they strong armed that reality.
Brand one said, I believe demand for energy will force data centers to use many nuclear reactors to power them, looking to invest in those companies soon. Super interesting. Um, I also can see how the whole Bitcoin thing could easily end up being a part of this narrative. It already has come up quite a bit actually around. I mean, Bitcoin. It's crazy. If we were looking at this back when they started in Texas, like building these mega massive facilities. The reason I'm saying this is because Bitcoin. The whole point of well, you need energy to create the Bitcoin as well, right? And so people are like, this is bad for the environment. But what actually ended up happening was, well, what incentives it creates is actually how do I get energy the cheapest? What's the cheapest form of energy that I can get? And so
Hmm.
you started to get these Bitcoin mining facilities being built around like oil refineries or whatever, where they're wasting stuff. They just put stuff out into the air. And so
Mm,
now they're taking that and they're recycling that. Okay, so now they're making use of energy that otherwise is not being used for anything. And then also, obviously, renewables of any sort become
mhm.
super powerful. And now you're incentivized to build renewables because you can get paid to
Yes.
do it. And that was always the problem. One of my best friends, he's like, dude, like money is just bad. And it's like, okay, but there's a system. The reason money is bad is because of the incentive mechanism of the system of money. If you change that, the real conversation we were having was like around like trying to promote planting trees and like taking care of the earth. And I'm like, but that needs to be built into the money system. Once that's built into the money system, all of that stuff goes away, right? Once you're incentivized, I've talked about this in the pod, to pick up the trash because you get paid to do it,
Yes.
right? That's when things change.
Some social credit stuff.
That smart cities galore. It's coming. um, but yeah, so the mini nuclear reactor, interesting thing. And then so whenever there is any excess capacity or any excess energy, what do you use it for? You use it to mine Bitcoin in the
Mhm.
meantime. And so Bitcoin ends up being this thing that helps to subsidize the build out of these data centers because essentially you can get paid for when there's excess energy that you need to basically, because most energy sources, they need to be on more than you need them.
Yes.
And you can't store it very easily.
Mhm.
And so you need to have somewhere to put the excess energy in between.
Yes.
Anyways.
No, I think that's some of the most important talking points that you could have, period. So I think that we should talk about that a lot more. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see if how tightly connected Bitcoin is into that conversation. And I totally agree with you too. I think that a lot of people are adapting this whole mindset that just like money is inherently evil. And I think that just doesn't solve the problem at all. Like, I don't know if money is really avoidable, right? Like I just think that our interpretation is based on the system that was built, like much like you were saying, the
Mhm.
existing money system that like I was saying this to my mom again on the same call today was in Canada, the desire for socialism amongst the youth has like risen crazy high levels,
Wow.
right? And it's hard to argue with them, right? When I don't want that at all, just to be incredibly clear. But it's hard to argue with them when they've been told they're living in capitalism and they're watching their life and the prospects of that deteriorate day over day.
Mm,
And so if they only think there's 2 options, option 1, ouchie, hurts me. I want number 2, right?
right.
And
Yeah.
I will say, like, the level of education across the board is just, like, it's not there. Like, even in schools, man, like, I know a person who their freaking major, Keith, was political science, and they didn't know the difference between left and right, like, on the spectrum.
Mm,
I'm like, "Bro," and obviously that's incredibly anecdotal, but I'm saying, like, there's even people that are highly educated that are pretty ignorant to, like, how these systems function.
right. Yeah, it's so fascinating. You take the because Jeff Booth would have probably the perfect thing to say about all this too. Because like is the question is the problem capitalism or is it the structure through which the game is being played right now?
Mhm.
The
Is it
capitalism game.
Yeah, is it that we're not in a free market?
Exactly. Like as Jeff Booth would say, we're not in a free market
W
capitalist system.
well, what's the natural state of a free market, Keith?
Yeah. Deflation.
That's awesome, man. I
Yeah,
really hope that, we get Jeff on again soon.
for sure, man.
I emailed him about trying to discussion between him and Charles.
Yeah,
I haven't heard back from him yet, but he's probably just busy, but, would love to make that happen. That would be so much fun.
most
I don't
certainly.
even think we'd have to do very much.
Oh no.
We probably
No.
wouldn't even get to.
It'd just be like letting these great minds battle.
Yeah, and then I'll just chime in with some dumbass shit, and then we'll be good to go. But, anything else on the topic of conversation that you wanted to go over, Keith, or do you wanna get into the second half?
Let's get into the second half.
Also, before we do that, guys, have we locked in with our animator? Are we gonna roll with him for the rest?
The communication is kind of spotty right now, and I don't
Okay.
like that. So we'll have to see.
Okay, cool. So basically, we're trying to get animations created for every section of the show. So if you or anyone you know is an animator, video editor, whatever, please reach out to us. And if you can create the stuff that we need, we will definitely uh, do that. Ben is the only person talking about money being evil. I'm saying that a lot of people, I think a lot of people think that money is evil. I don't
Yeah,
think
no,
that.
for sure. I mean, I've got plenty of friends that think that way about money. Uh, and once again, it's like when it's the thing that you don't have, that you need to have, and you can't get,
Yeah.
and it's the reason why you can't eat, or you know, like yeah,
Well,
money is evil,
when we don't have money, every problem's a money problem.
right?
So, because like even the thing that is like maybe the real problem, that like let's say it's the lack of self worth or whatever, you'll say I don't have self worth because I don't have money, right? So I can't get the job because I'm not confident. Why aren't you confident? Because I don't have money, right? I can't get around good friends because I can't live where I want. Why can't I live where I want? Because I don't have money. So I see a lot of that.
Yep. And then Teo 3655 said, "Money is epic. I can LARP in a rented Maybach and Brickle." I'm thinking you're saying Brickle, but you said Brickwell. Maybe that's somewhere I don't know anything about.
So Leak said AI animator, you can use an AI to make it if you want.
Yeah,
I don't really care.
100%.
Whoever's really good and can make us some graphics. And to be more clear, it's like, you know how when say Sports Center goes to a different segment or like a news channel goes to a different segment and there's like that bumper that has a little animation and some sound behind it that creates a separation. We're looking for a few of those.
A few of them.
So you want to get into the second half?
Yep. So now it is time for the second half. We're going to start off with some news, ladies and gentlemen. Um, couple of things that have come out over the past couple days here. One of them was Russia advancing a bill to regulate and classify crypto as property and allow it in foreign trade. This one was super interesting because when I looked into the bill and what it really was saying, well, obviously I'm not reading it in Russian, but from what I'm seeing reported, is they're basically saying that you can't use crypto as a form of payment inside of Russia. That's not what they're doing. It's an investment and something that you could use for cross-border payment.
Mm.
And I'm like, interesting, brother. Interesting there that you would make such a statement. You don't want it to be used locally as a currency. And in fact, the ruble is the only thing that you may use, but you may be able to use it cross border. It's almost as if, there's a little bit of a movement toward using alternative payment methods for cross border payments.
It does seem like Russia is a character that has been deliberately not a main one as of late, and I think that will dramatically change with some sort of announcement in the next, like, 6 to 12.
That's an interesting thing. Yeah, they've definitely been laying low.
Like, they used to be heard about all the time.
Yep, yep. Putin everywhere. Putin all over your TV screen. Putin all in your mouth. I'm sorry.
That sounded crazy.
Lufthansa, I don't even know how to pronounce it. First cancellation of 20,000 flights as the energy crisis tsunami approaches Europe. This is just the beginning. This was a couple of days ago um, that they made this announcement. And I wanted to, because I've heard of them before, but I was like, is that like that big of a deal? And then I was looking at what are the largest airlines in the world. And they're actually the fourth largest airline in the world.
Dang, I didn't realize they were that big.
I had no idea. So it's Delta Airlines, United Airlines, American Airlines, and then Lufthansa Group out of Germany in particular.
Dang.
So, yep. So pretty interesting thing there. It's, I mean, to be honest, guys, like that situation does not look like it's getting any better either. So here we are with the flights starting to get canceled.
What's the latest that you've
Um,
seen on that front?
on the energy side of like what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz,
Mhm.
I saw some reports that the naval blockade that the US has done has not necessarily stopped Iran from getting their boats through. Like there was some reports of them still getting their boats out. Um, but there's also reports that the overall traffic in the Strait of Hormuz is still very low.
Mm.
So um, at this point, I have no idea. Once the U.S. naval blockade comes in, I think a lot of what we're seeing is probably going to be a lot of propaganda. We just can only look at the actual the trackers that are saying what's coming through, and hopefully some of that can be accurate enough. But yeah, so and on that conversation, right, when it comes to the U.S. naval blockade, I mean, it does also to some degree make sense to me that they might not like is the U.S. really going to start like I saw them attack a naval destroyer or whatever from Iran because that makes sense. Okay, it's Navy versus Navy, but is the US going to stoop down to the level of Iran in attacking civilian ships? Because that's kind of crazy if you really think about it. You know what I'm saying?
We're
It's not too far because it's one thing to attack infrastructure that's civilian infrastructure, but it's also different to attack like a ship or a company. You know what I mean? Like that's technically a different thing to do. What were you gonna say?
nothing. Yeah, it just seems like nothing will surprise me at this point. Like this. So, yeah, obviously, I hope that it all gets resolved and nobody gets blown up. But yeah, I appreciate you keeping us up to date on all that.
Yeah, that's just a little bit that I've seen. Um, and then we had some other news about. I haven't looked into this too deeply, but Anthropic put out this Mythos release the other day, and they were like, "This is," well, they didn't release it, but they were like, "This is so powerful, we can't release it." And then there a few days or about a week later, Anthropic confirms a breach of Claude Mythos model and has launched an investigation into the unauthorized access of it, according to Bloomberg. Attackers used contractor login credentials of a compromised third-party vendor and guest internal URLs to access multiple unreleased models. The group reportedly gained access on launch day despite the model being restricted to 40 firms due to cybersecurity risks. Anthropic says no evidence of impact to core systems has been found so far.
Wow.
So that was kind of funny. There's a bunch of memes. I think I have a couple of them that are floating around. Well, this guy said something. Hold on. He was like, give you this one. Because basically they're like, this is the most powerful model ever. We can't let it be had. And then like the security for the model was just trash. So Anthropic's model, Mythos, has been accessed by a small group of unauthorized users. And this guy said, a small group of unauthorized users.
That's a that's amazing. That's super good.
So that was that one. Next big thing that we had going on is a little bit of drama between the Trump family and Justin Sun. So Tron founder Justin Sun files a lawsuit against Trump's family crypto project World Liberty Financial. The He said, "They wrongfully froze all of my tokens, stripped me of my right to vote on governance proposals, and have threatened permanently destroy my tokens." Hmm.
Yeah, that's so he's the founder of Tron, you said, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so they've really tried to create themselves as like the stablecoin, like one of the stablecoin blockchains. Like a lot of the stablecoin liquidity is locked up there, or on there. And he initially gave World Liberty a ton of money, basically
Mhm.
because Tron was getting investigated by was it who was it? Was it the SEC or who
I
was
think
it?
so. I think the
Okay.
SEC.
And so basically it was like, okay, like here's your money, like leave you alone kind of deal. And then he got involved with World Liberty, and then obviously be careful who your friends are, right?
Yep. So, that's how that goes. And actually, extremely relevant to this, Ben, and I didn't think about this until just now. This morning, Tether just
Mhm.
froze 344 million in Tether following request by US enforcement. And I believe this was on the Tron blockchain.
Mhm.
Okay,
There
so yeah, so Sharp is saying he thinks that it might even be uh,
it was on
Justin's
Tron.
funds. Yes, it
So
was on Tron.
so that's unlikely to be a coincidence. And then, that's like there are some people who are trying to build solutions for, like, a decentralized stablecoin because the utility of it obviously is
That's
that's
awesome.
awesome. Because the utility obviously is clearly there, right? Like, the ability to transact and also hold a currency elsewhere, whatever. So there are some people who are trying to do that in a decentralized way. It'll be interesting to see if anyone can ever crack that.
Yes, yes, yes. What is this one? I'm not sure what that is. I think I falsely did this. So another thing that's been going on this week,
Got it.
yeah, and yeah, people were saying Iran uses Tron. Yes,
Interesting.
yeah, and Tether, Tron on Tether. Dang, yep, facts. That too,
So then they can obviously easily claim that it's a national defense thing.
100%. There's some education actually we can do on that before I move on. So stablecoins, ladies and gentlemen, are very different from regular traditional permissionless blockchain application of blockchain. Uh, the Bitcoin blockchain, you can't freeze it. Okay, completely autonomous kind of thing that's always going on. Stablecoins are a little bit different because they exist on blockchains that also have smart contracts, right? So when you launch a stablecoin on a blockchain, you have a smart contract that is essentially the address of that token on the blockchain. So Ethereum, for instance, you have a Tether address and a Tether smart contract or group of smart contracts. And when you launch these smart contracts for these stablecoins, one of the things that it has the capability of being able to do is to freeze or claw back and things of that nature. And so um, now there are fully permissionless tokens on blockchains, and then there are ones that are not. But it all comes down to what is in the smart contract in the code, by the way, because yeah, it's just
That's
code.
yes.
So yeah, so stable coins can be frozen. uh, and are not purely decentralized technology. Just so
Mhm.
everyone's is aware.
Very important to know. And then they set new rules for what are approved stable coins, right? Criteria in terms of,
The
where you have to
Genius
have
Act.
yes, yes, yes. So what were the stipulations around that?
Well, one of the things is just first off having the one-to-one backing of treasuries,
Yes.
which is probably the biggest thing.
I feel like that should be a no-brainer.
100%. The idea that any of these stable coins are not backed, right, is a crazy thought. And obviously, what did Tether do as soon as they launched the Genius Act? They released the USA Tether version, which I mean, it makes sense because of the fact that a lot of Tether, not a lot of Tether, but some of Tether is technically backed with like Bitcoin and gold and stuff like that. At least that's in their reserves. It's technically like over collateralized, but
Mhm.
still, like, why are you doing all that in one place? You shouldn't do that like that. So,
Totally. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy world that, yeah, it's difficult to navigate, difficult to understand, but definitely important that you try.
100p. So another big thing that's been going on is we've been seeing a bunch of like fires and explosions at different refineries and whatnot around the world. I'm still not sure of what's going on here. We're not being told that there's a reason for this or whatever, as well as maybe this isn't as abnormal as we think it is, right? Maybe it's just being amplified and put into our faces right now. I honestly just don't know and haven't been able to do the research on it yet. But we've seen fires or explosions at oil refineries in India, Pakistan, Iraq, United States, Mexico, Australia. and so on, right in the middle of an energy crisis. So
Wow.
look, I don't know if this is something that's necessarily, oh, Russia. And some of these, to be fair, like Iraq and Russia, were attacks, right? They were actual physical attacks from drones because of the wars going on and so on and so forth. But so yeah, just something, if you didn't hear about it, it's going on.
Mhm. Not interesting. Yeah, it's also like energy is going to become an increasingly large part of the story. It seems like for everybody's life.
Yeah, and I did find it weird that like you had these two, Keir Starmer and Australia's uh, prime minister, UK and Australia's prime ministers, come out and say a few weeks ago, like these times could be tough and it's going to be hard, like get prepared or whatever kind of thing. When it was just like, okay, but there was just no reason why it had to be that way. Like it felt a little bit too early.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you're saying this like as if you know that there's going to be a problem
Mm.
when it didn't have to be that way at
Yeah.
all. So, anyways, moving forward, let's talk about. It's time for the meme section. All right, so
Memes.
put on your
Your laughing hat.
yes, and let's talk about what is going on in the world today.
Oh,
So
the missing scientist is crazy too.
that's a big one. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that. So Meta yesterday or 2 days ago announced that they're going to install tracking software on U.S. employee computers to capture workflow data for AI training.
Mm.
Meta tracking tools to capture mouse movements, keystrokes, and snapshots of what employees see on their screens, according to an internal memo. And this guy said, sort of like this, an old school meme
Yeah.
from Mark Zuckerberg peeping through your window.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I mean, the craziest part about that to me, I guess, is the fact that this narrative or this idea that companies are literally basically paying people to,
Replace themselves.
yes, exactly. So
Hmm.
I just find that fascinating.
But that will also probably lead to a lot of big companies falling down, right? Because like think of the incentive structure there, like sabotaging. You know what I'm saying? Like think of
Oh
how
yeah,
much energy that
true.
you're fighting now.
Oof.
Because as someone who's built businesses, like everybody who touches everything and their opinions and feelings and the energy that they carry with it, it plays a big role. Like if someone believes in what they're working on, it's so different from someone who hates what they're working on. So if there's that many people that start to hate it internally, some big companies, I don't care, like, unless the tools get there where they're good to go, which they're not there now. So like it would be bad.
Yeah, I mean, you always get culture responses to stuff like that. For instance, during the lockdown in 2020, what did people do about like companies trying to track your mouse movements? They bought mouses that like wiggled for them.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have responses and cultural things that could pop up that people would
Mhm.
talk about, and like it'd be a whole thing for sure. So
Yeah. Definitely pretty crazy. It's yeah, it's just a big old shit show when it comes to AI and work. And there's probably gonna be more layoffs as the time goes on, I'm sure.
for sure, man. This next piece, pretty wild. An idea that an Apple patent reveals earbuds designed to monitor brain activity. And there's the full comment, excuse me, the full patent in the comments. So earbuds would be capable of measuring biosignals from inside and around the ear, including, I'm not going to say that word, EEG, to monitor electrical brain activity along with other signals like muscle movement, eye movement, and heart rate. The patent explains that placing electrodes on, in, or near the outer ear allows more accurate readings with less visibility and device movement, raising
Mm.
concerns about how much data these devices could collect and how powerful this technology could become.
Mhm. I do wonder about a lot of this stuff in terms of like how much of that's already going on, and then how much of that could just be that we disclose a lot more than we realize we're disclosing through our use of things too, right? And how much is it interconnected? Like how many things talk.
Right. No, that's a good point, man.
So
There's no telling the levels at which that is already
like
going on. You're right.
Canada's trying to pass some stuff like that, which is big on the surveillance stuff, where basically they would called Bill C-22, I think it is, where and the guy who was fighting it in Parliament, whatever it was, basically like read out the opening line or one of the opening lines from 1984,
Mm,
and it was basically like he basically was pretty adamantly saying like this is what you guys are building, like and of course like when you give away a liberty, like getting it back is almost impossible.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah, what I say, there's always an altruistic angle for all this stuff, right? It's always for our own good.
Health angle, yeah. Yeah, health angle is a good one right now, especially the whole movement, biohacking and whatnot. All right, so this one is pretty wild, y'all. This is a crazy story. Ben, I saw you actually sent this to me as well. Um, so a guy manipulated a weather market using a hair dryer. So let's break it down. So you got these prediction markets. These prediction markets, anyone can set up a bet. They set up a bet that says the temperature in Paris will only go to as high as $80 or 80 degrees Celsius. Oh, okay, that's not going to work. 20 degrees Celsius today. And there's a specific way that this is going to be settled, which is based upon the data that comes from a sensor that is next to the airport. And what happens is if the sensor, right, ends up going above 80, oh my goodness, 20 degrees Celsius for the day, then whoever bets that it would go higher for the day will make money. Okay, well, the problem is that that's pretty much exactly what happened here. So, holy F, a hair dryer at a Paris airport broke Polymarket weather markets and made someone $34,000 richer. Polymarket was settling Paris temperature bets on a single Mateo France sensor sitting near the Charles de Gaulle runway perimeter, basically unguarded. The guy bought the long shot outcome, like 22 degrees Celsius, when everyone expected 18 degrees Celsius for pennies, since nobody thought it would hit. So then he walked up to the probe and briefly heated the air around it with a portable heat source, spiking the reading just long enough to register as the daily maximum. Temperature then snapped back down to normal within minutes. The market resolved in his favor and he cashed out twice on April 6th and April 15th before Mateo France caught on and filed charges against him.
If if this is all like real, that's freaking hilarious.
I'm pretty sure, man. I'm pretty sure that's a real occurrence, but I actually haven't looked into it super deeply. But in general, right, thinking about the incentives here, guys, of these platforms, it's getting out of it's crazy. Um, but these are the types of things that people are doing, and then the question becomes like, so this guy got arrested, but he probably got arrested for trespassing. You know what I
Mhm,
mean?
mhm.
But not for doing what he did. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, you might be fine with that.
so crazy, crazy world that we have going on here.
Yeah, prediction markets are insane, and I think the cons strongly outweigh the pros, but yeah, we'll continue to have the conversation.
Well, we certainly shall. And there's actually another thing about this that came up because our friend Rob, who will be coming on the podcast hopefully very soon, he actually posted something this morning that I thought was pretty interesting. So we'll just keep down the narrative of prediction markets for just a second. Y'all stick with us because we got some crazy stories. Um, so this one was super interesting too because there's this person who is running for Senate somewhere, and what happened was, I was gonna say I thought it was gone. Um, so okay, Kalshi accused this senator or this guy who's running for Senate, excuse me, of insider trading on a market that, after my request, their head of politics added me to after it was public info that I was going to run. All screenshots in the videos for reporters. So he made a $100 bet saying that basically he was going to run. And so he was, obviously going to win that because he was going to run. He did this to bring light that our democracy is up for sale, and Kalshi is a platform that can be manipulated by the highest bidder donor to move a market, which will sway voters because the media will report on it. Meanwhile, their CEO donates and spends millions of dollars to lobby DC to sway PR away from the crisis because they have states, because of all the states suing them. So someone had called this out. Essentially, this guy Kalshi just put out So Brendan Peterson said, Kalshi just put out a press release saying they caught 3 instances of candidates for public office betting on or against themselves in Minnesota, Texas, and Virginia. And then the head of that media company, Jake Sherman, said, the Virginia one is wild. Someone bet on themselves to run for Senate and then announced they would run for Senate. And so this guy made this video in response to all of that, right? So this is Mark Moran for US Senate. In this video, I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but there's a part of it that's hilarious that Rob pointed out, and so I want to get to it.
Thank you for your attention. Now, earlier today, Kalshi came out and they said that I insider traded on a market about me running for office. Now, I've been waiting for this. And why is that? It's to call attention to something much larger: how elections can be bought, and our democracy is up for sale, and Kalshi is responsible. So let's go back to October 2025, where there is a New York Post article that brings to light my concerns about prediction markets. In that article, it says that I'm going to be running for office. So that information is already out there. Then in December, the head of politics at Kalshi, as you can see from these texts, makes and adds me to a market. Now, insider trading requires material possession of non-public information. However, the fact that I was going to run for office was already out there. I asked the head of politics at Kalshi to make me that market. And then these fuckers had the nerve to come to me in February and say, Mark, we're going to have a meeting with compliance. I said, okay. I could tell in that meeting that this was part of an orchestrated hit because Kalshi is undergoing a PR crisis. That's why Kalshi, Polymarket, they compete to get influencers, which is why they approached me in the past. But I'm someone who can't be bought. And so I had this little meeting. Everything's fine. And they wanted 3 things. One was to ban me from Kalshi. That's cool. That's fine. I don't care. I don't bet. I know my vices. The other was to fine me $800, which is fine. For a $100 bet, that's fine, right? But then third, they try to compel my speech. They try to make me make a statement on Twitter, on X, about what I did. And I said, like, fuck, you're going to compel my speech. This is still the United States of America that I live in, despite what other people may think. And I'm going to push back on that. So I wrote them this email. And let's pause for this because this is a real patriot email. So they didn't like that. So they increased my fine to what? $6,000. And they try to compel me. They try to financially extort me. Meanwhile, Tarek, the CEO, what he's done, he's making donations to the DSCC. They're spending millions in Washington, D.C. to get themselves legal, to make it so that all these states, these multiple states suing them for being illegal gambling operations, that they drop it. Federal government says it's okay, but it's not okay.
So, interesting situation here. The thing that I thought was, that Rob pointed out that was absolutely hilarious. He said, quote, now let's pause for this because this is a real patriot email, unquote, end quote, is going to be an earworm for me. So yeah, this guy's interesting, man. And I also commented on this. I was like, so this guy exposes the incentives of prediction markets while falling right into the incentives of big tech and social media, performing an unethical and borderline illegal acts, all in the name of attention. Fascinating behavior.
Did you get any replies to that?
No, no, no one cares about what I have to say, but but it was,
I
yeah, I just
care,
thought that was
Keith.
kind of funny.
I care.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you guys hopefully care, so that's why I shared it. But yeah, so all of that, right? It's just very wild and interesting to me. Um, did you really do anything for us by doing that? Like, no, you didn't. You just got yourself some attention and honestly make yourself look like someone who's like not ethical because now you're dealing with an insider trading accusation, but whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely. I just think that opens up so many bad things that even these few pros that these guys claim that are there, I don't know how that impacts me.
And the real point that I brought this up on is like, okay, this dude gets hit with a fine, but that's it, right? He
Mhm.
get and who is he getting fined by? He's getting fined by the company. So the problem with this is that it's just a wild, wild west. Like you're telling me someone could do something that would otherwise be illegal if it was somewhere else, and all that happens is the company extorts them for a fine for doing something that was not right.
Wild.
So it's like, so these companies are almost profiting, right?
Mm.
Because they're just going to get to be able to charge this guy a fee to be able to do this insider trading, because they're also going to not pay out based upon that too. You know what I
They don't
mean?
have to now because of that.
I imagine, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's probably in the terms of service. Like, well,
Mhm.
if you manipulate the platform, then I don't have to pay you out, and you have to pay me a fine. So now I'm benefiting when people are doing that.
Yeah.
So,
It gets
anyways,
increasingly more messy by the day. Also, like, we can't even make this shit up, man. There's like a new story every day that ties into this stuff.
100%, man. So let's see here. So this is the big story that's like breaking the internet right now. Is I'm almost scared to talk about it, but there's this scientist who has just
Mm.
disappeared, y'all. Um, and you know, there's been a lot of them disappearing now, so it's kind of getting a little bit crazy. So this guy, UFO researcher David Wilcock, I think it's David
Oh, I've
Wilcock.
seen that guy in a bunch of movies.
I was gonna ask because I
Yeah.
imagine
He's got a
uh,
distinct look to him. I've seen that guy a bunch.
just reported dead in his apparent suicide.
Wow.
And this is a quote tweet quoting him from 2022, saying, "I plan on living, not suicidal at all, just concerned about what happens when you prove God is real." Crazy statement. Okay. There's a bunch of other stuff that I've seen around this of him, like also basically because I mean he was just alive and he was also seeing people um, you know, disappearing. But hold on, let's watch this one real quick.
Every day that I have on earth is a gift and a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that because, frankly, people are disappearing. Scientists are going missing. Now they're saying they're going to investigate this. The president himself is saying they're going to look into this and see if anything's going on. It's a little bit scary every day that I have on.
So, you know, he was also witnessing other scientists disappearing.
Mm-hmm. There's been, what is he, number 11 or something like that?
I think it's like 12 now, man.
One of the other ones, she had a very long podcast that's still on YouTube. It's like 3 hours long, talking about a lot of these things and saying, and it also becomes further complex because she was drinking on it. So some people are saying that's like validation for why she's not telling the truth, and then other people are saying, well, she's so stressed, that's why she's drinking. You know,
And that lady, she's also disappeared now, correct?
that's my understanding.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that lady has also been disappeared. And so with that, yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing or anything, but I keep on seeing different snippets of it or of her life in general because she was
Mhm.
having these moments where she's like boarding up her door and stuff like that because was getting attacked by an energy weapon or something like that. And then like people changing license plates. She was like, one time they ran out to go and like film this person's license plate that was stalking them or whatever. And then he like literally in front of them, like changed the license plate, just making a statement like, "You want me to get another one?"
No problem.
Yeah. Like, holy crap. So, anyways, you know, um, kids don't go into STEM because that's gonna get political. No, I'm just kidding. You guys do it. Pursue your things and don't let these people scare you.
That's
But
crazy though.
yeah, so interesting situation at this point. It's worldwide, and not even just that, but Trump had to acknowledge it, right? He actually, that was also kind of weird to me because he's acknowledged it, saying, "Oh, we're gonna figure out like what's going on. We're gonna do an investigation about this." And
Hmm.
it's like we might like probably shouldn't even talk about it at this point. Like just let it go, you know, because we know that you know, you know,
I'd imagine. Who knows?
yeah,
Yeah, it all depends on who's actually running things, and it seems like no one knows. So yeah,
fair. Maybe it's also just aliens abducting people. So this is another thing, right? Over the past few months, we've been seeing a lot of talk about disclosure.
true. Yeah, maybe that they're like getting called up, and they're like, it's go time.
So the theory that I saw someone etch out was like, if the US is going to do this disclosure, if there are people out there, and I know these are just scientists, they're not necessarily like purely all UFO people or whatever, I don't know. But if they're going to do disclosure, then people who have the real story can't be around,
Mm,
because same thing with like the files that came out. Like if you had real information, material information around like what actually happened,
mm.
then you would be able to refute
It'd be a
what they're putting
liability.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man. That's a interesting thought exercise. It's you could also Maybe the aliens are keeping them safe
Yeah, that
for
too.
that moment.
Yeah.
And maybe in the age of AI, the only way that they could prove that they're real is where like you have all the scientists in the same place that were supposed to be abducted, and it's like that could be cool. They live stream from the ship. And I don't mean to laugh at any of these people going missing at all. That's not my intention. I'm just trying to, yeah. It's just very sad and weird situation, and also I don't know any of these people, so it's like, I know that they exist, but I'm saying I can only imagine what it's like for the people who are closer to it. It's got to suck.
Yeah, that's for sure, man. And yeah, totally crazy situation. It almost just doesn't even feel real. But
Yeah, that's basically a better way of saying what I was trying to say.
uh, um, something else that's happened over the past 48, Beast Industries has denied disgusting allegations made in a new lawsuit by a former MrBeast employee over maternity leave and workplace behavior issues. They told Dexerto, which is this media channel here, this clout chasing complaint is built on deliberate misrepresentations and categorically false statements, and we have the receipts to prove it. Any initial thoughts on that one, Ben?
Well, he's so big now, and also like I sent that to you, and I'm sure there like I don't know anything about the situation, so there could be truth, there could be lies, there could be all these things. But when you get that many people that you're employing, and especially because a lot of these people, we all discredit the difficulty of certain problems, right? In terms of managing that many people and doing so the right way by the book and following all the laws and all those things like that's a complex problem that when your sole focus is like more views, I'm sure a lot of things get overlooked that eventually become a problem when enough people look at it. Because there are like on almost every job site on the planet, bro, like there's people that rules are broken all the time, right? In terms of like workplace laws and things of that nature, right? Like I've had it happen to me a bunch of times where I was gonna go to the effort to report this stuff because it wasn't worth my time. But when you have
Mm,
that many people and there's that much money there, then that stuff catches up to you.
yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, these things happen when you're big enough, no doubt, when it's worth it for people to do it.
Totally.
Part of the
And from an
game.
attention standpoint, like when that guy called him out and made the videos about it a year or two ago, did you see all that?
No.
It was a former employee. It went mega viral on YouTube because he used to work there, I guess, for some period of time, and he went in on he went in on the whole like everything that was apparently going wrong. Like, and he made a lot of allegations, like the fact that a lot of the participants in the show, they're supposed to be random, have affiliation towards the show, right? Also the fact that they're basically running like an unregulated lottery in a lot of situations for the things
Mm,
that they're doing,
mm.
right? So yeah, like yeah, it's a lot of the videos. Like I can appreciate the talent and everything that he's achieved, but a lot of the videos like are pretty messed up that they make.
Yeah, no doubt. For some reason, I was watching something about the one where they're like paying people to stay in the maybe you sent it to me.
The grocery
To
store to lose weight?
yes, yes. Well, so they had to stay in the grocery store for a year
Yeah.
to eat all the food in the grocery store. But he was like, "It's okay. I'll have like trainers and a nutritionist come in." But it's like you're still taking a year of these people's lives away for like it wasn't that much money. Like it basically
Mhm.
wasn't that much money. It was maybe $1 million. But the cool thing about what happened was, I guess, to give some credit, it was like a competition of people, whoever could stay the longest, and so people were staying longer, and they stayed. It was like clearly like this is kind of a stalemate, like they're gonna stay. So then the thing became, okay, well then you guys work together
Mhm.
to then get this bigger prize of money, but you have to stay here for a year and eat all this food, which is crazy,
It's
bro.
crazy. I saw a guy on Instagram make a post a while back where he said, "When I seeing MrBeast's channel makes me all but certain that things like Squid Game actually exist."
Mm,
Right?
right.
Because in his so someone when they're only optimizing towards one thing, it becomes a very dangerous thing because the mindset becomes by any means, right? And lines get blurred all the time. And so what he's basically saying was that if this can get to this place from just like a YouTuber and the supporting businesses around it, like think of the levels of power
Mm,
that are present in the current function of society, right?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, that's a crazy thought. Um, and the only way for what he's doing to work also is for people to naturally, in some way, be attracted to that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
right? Like you're playing into the direct hopes and fears of people, like getting fat, for instance.
Yes.
Uh, you know, making the money, obviously, but at
Yeah.
what cost? You know what I'm saying? But that's the thing that he's playing with in the minds of the viewer.
Yeah. And when they roll out that bank that he has,
Oh
or bro,
yeah.
that'll be
They're gonna
part
be
of the
having
story,
doing.
man.
They're gonna have people doing Hunger Games to get a direct deposit, right?
See, there are so many things in here, right? Like they probably didn't have housing anyways. If I'm sure that's a better situation if you were homeless, but I'm hard pressed to believe that it was a homeless person on there.
I don't think so.
1 million for 1 year sounds like a fair trade. To be fair,
Split up amongst 5 people. You have family. Like, think about that. Like, people could pass away in that time frame. You know what I mean? Like, not saying
Mhm.
that that's what's gonna happen, but it's just like you are missing. And this is what other people were saying. I'm not like this isn't just how I would look at it, but like you're missing out on moments with your family. Like, if you have a 2-year-old kid, you know what I mean? Like, you're just not gonna see your kid for a year because you're making $250,000 staying at this stupid thing for some show. Then you
Yeah,
know what I mean? I don't know.
I'm sure people would argue the fact that like they give their life away basically to their job, but you're also sacrificing the flexibility to stop the job over
Yeah.
that specific period of time, right? So it's a trade off, right? Like it all depends on your perspective.
I mean, just think about that from that perspective because it is kind of their job in a way. Are they getting the same kind of treatment? I'm sure they do because otherwise it probably would be illegal. Um, but yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, Mr. Beast's the bank thing. I think that'll play a big story and a big role with crypto. I really do. The $200 million partnership with the Ethereum treasury company, like I just think that's going to be a very big thing when it happens, and I cannot wait for the streams that we can make when that happens. Hopefully, it goes well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Um, next story. Apparently, the Trump administration has asked FIFA to replace Iran with Italy in the upcoming World Cup amid the Iran war. Trump's envoy argued that Italy's 4 World Cup titles in the history of the tournament justify awarding it the slot. The plan is reportedly an effort to repair ties between President Trump and Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni.
Wait, Italy didn't make the thing,
I
like the World
think
Cup.
I think it's saying that, yeah, I don't know. Actually, I have no idea. But I did see Georgia having some words about Mr. Mr. Trump, which I thought was kind of interesting because she's like she's like the European conservative lady, you know. So if she's got bad things to say about him, then that's crazy. But anyways, that probably would have been a news section, but here we are. Something else is going on. Apparently, there's like these AI generated images of women that were in captivity in Iran, and Trump has helped them to be freed. Now, the problem is this. I think there are actual people who were in captivity in Iran, but there were images of these people that were AI generated that have
Mm.
been circulating around. And so there's like this joke here around like Trump trying to take credit for these AI people that don't exist being freed. Um, and the Iranian officials themselves actually did respond to some of this, and they were like Trump had nothing to do with any of this,
Mm.
and this was like an internal affair that was going on. I saw that on Twitter. So, anyways, yeah, I won't even play this, but basically, Caroline Levitt was like defending him or saying like he just helped these people get freed, and people are like, bro, these people aren't real. So, what is going on?
That's
So crazy.
fascinating.
Now it's time for the pure jokes. Pure jokes, folks. Trump said that the straits very important, but ships are finding alternative routes. And this guy, Zay Capital, said this in response.
That's great.
Because yeah, I don't really think there's any alternative routes, but whatever. I get the point. The point is they're just not using the straight at all. So buy a house by doing this one weird trick. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
We're siblings and bought a house together. Here's how we did it. Both had saved up around 13,000 pounds, just used cash. While George used stocks and shares for the deposit, they didn't use a lifetime ISA. I don't know what that is. Oh, it's a tax-free savings account designed for first-time buyers. Blah, blah, blah. And then look, blah, blah, blah. Their parents gifted 82,000 pounds towards the deposit.
That's so ridiculous.
So
Is
that's
that
how they
rage
bought the
bait?
house together. I don't even know. But that was definitely freaking hilarious to see. And that's kind of how things are going out there in the world.
Big time.
So this one was interesting. This guy said all recorded earthquakes worldwide from 2015 to 2025. Did you notice the pattern? Okay. And then this guy said, did you just discover tectonic plates? Like, kind of how it works. And then the crazy part was what came after in this person's thread feeds. Gen Z is the most Christopher Columbus A generation. They're constantly discovering things that have been around forever and presenting them to the internet like it's new. So I thought that was hilarious.
I guess if it's new to them, it's new to them, right?
100%, 100%. So next piece, we had Trump saying, I've been in favor of interest rates. Excuse me. I've been in favor of interest rate rises to stop inflation, Trump says. And like we all know that over the past year, he's been attacking Powell about not lowering rates.
Aggressively, yeah.
So they said Powell reading this tweet looking like that. So I thought that was pretty solid. Let's see. Oh, okay, this one was perfect. I made a Chrome extension that removes AI slop from my LinkedIn feed.
That's pretty deadly accurate.
I thought that was great.
I'm hard pressed to understand how people spend like extended periods of times on that platform.
For sure, dude. Yeah, it's crazy. I had a friend or a guy who I went to college with who like blew up on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
He like made a career out of being a link. It was really cool. Like he was just using it properly. I think what he did was he was doing video on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Oh, when they first released that out,
Yes.
you could definitely get some pretty crazy arbitrage opportunity there. And you can turn it into a lot of money, right? Because there's way less time wasters there in terms of like anybody who would be following up, the chances of them being a qualified lead would be way higher.
100%. So he like, yeah, he just went hard on posting. And guys, this is a thing of like, when you see new features like that, it can change your life.
Yeah.
Because this is just a college kid. Like he's a smart dude, don't get me wrong. But he was just in college, started posting on LinkedIn, blew up, got hired by LinkedIn,
Wow.
and like has made a whole career off of that. It was crazy.
It can be that simple, man, right?
Yeah.
The friction is the confidence in yourself to potentially look dumb for a bit.
100%, because he definitely looked like a weirdo posting like that on LinkedIn.
Oh, and then you'd also be getting roasted because it's probably mostly people you know personally, right?
Exactly.
Whereas on YouTube or whatever, you could start a new channel and they probably wouldn't see it until you are somewhat successful.
Exactly, man. He definitely talks about this now too, because he was going through that. You know, people like saying all kinds of stuff about him. So shout out to that guy, Skylar Stuter.
Way to go.
Cool. So last thing that I had, yeah, hit that like button. Come on, y'all. If you're in here with us at this point, yeah, gotta hit that like button.
And same on the replay.
Yeah, and if you're on the replay, come on. You know you're enjoying it. So this guy, I don't know why his name has been Horowitz, but whatever. He said, I made the anti-Grammarly mess up your emails with AI.
So you sound like a human?
Exactly. It's actually pretty good. Like, watch this. He's saying to humanize it and then make it a CEO. I thought that was hilarious.
Super short.
Because it's just like exactly what needs to be said. Nothing more.
That's good.
Yeah. Super real. And then other than that, folks, we had some spicy comments on the previous episode.
Did we ever?
And that was fitting. We had a little bit of a spicier conversation throughout the podcast. So let's bring it over to the community section for the day. Dun-ba-dum-bum-bum-bum. Those are our animations for now.
That's our animation.
um, all right. Yeah. So BAKKE Jadam, J. Adam, said evening streams would be great for the audience and the amount of people that tune in. Evenings, most people are winding down and have the time to tune in with 4 likes. 4 likes. So heard. We will definitely be making that happen. Ben said we will definitely start trying to mix these in. Awesome. 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 How are you now? What up? Really bizarre to hear you guys talk about computers, internet, and floppy disk. Haha. I'm a 91er, not much older than you guys, and I remember playing games on floppy disks. I remember Math Circus. I had no internet for the first 12 years of my life. It was much better. I appreciate the internet these days, but I am happy that I didn't have access to video games, computers, and internet for my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Great chat, fellas.
No, that's totally fair.
Yeah. Yeah. I was watching. Did we bring that up on the pod the other day when we were looking at the guys in the 7-Eleven from 1987?
Uh,
I know I sent it to you.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we brought that specifically up.
So, anyways, for some reason I was thinking about like what was I mean, you keep on seeing this nostalgia stuff pull up over and over again, right? Like these like, oh, back in the 80s or back before the internet, this is what life was like. But one thing for sure, I saw this video of some kids like in high school, and it's just like think about the fact that there's we definitely used to be so much more connected, right? Because in the downtime, you like what else would you do besides talk to someone? Like
Yeah,
you
of
have
course.
people around you,
Or even yourself.
or even sit with yourself for a second. Facts, bro. So I'm just like, dang, that's so wild. Like we don't even. I mean, it's obvious that we don't communicate with each other, but it's just so wild to think that just 20 years ago,
Yeah.
you would go outside and like just like, what up, bro? Like, you know, people that you don't know, you would talk to them because you're
You had
humans
to.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many experiences now that can't possibly happen. I do wonder a lot about the stories that like kids and teens and whatnot will have in terms of like the shared experiences. Like so many of them are online where it's like, does that feel the same? I don't know.
Totally, man. Yeah, we have a little bit of a video that Sharp Asipa put together for us. So we'll go over that in just a second. All right, so let's get into some of the harder ones here. Ram Low 44 said, I agree with
They
Keith.
can't see your screen.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
um, Ramlow 44. I agree with Keith on the term racism. I avoid calling folks out on racist leaning ideologies because people take things to the extreme and get too upset to continue the conversation. New term definition. Holding a strong position on a topic with an ignorance of the impact that position has on a minority or marginalized community. Interesting. Interesting thought there. Um, yeah, I don't have too much to say on that one, but um, yeah, by the way, guys, I do not think that Joe Rogan is racist. Just want to put that out there into the
Mhm.
world. Like, to be super clear, I think there's another one that addresses that more specifically. And then let's see. Stir Lakini one said, LOL, I officially feel old. Y'all don't know what a floppy disk is. I'm only a couple years older than y'all, but I remember those. Did y'all play video games with memory cards? And if you didn't have a memory card, would you leave the console on all day? LOL. Ooh, that was a thing.
Mhm.
Leaving the console on. Yeah. Um, that's fascinating. I remember, I mean, like the DS and like the Game Boy would have the memory card, right?
Yeah, internally.
Yeah.
It was in the actual like the game itself. But if your battery did end up dying, then so too did your save file. Like
No, but on the
battery
DS,
inside the thing.
you still had a memory card, didn't you? You had the memory card and then the game slot.
I think for the DS, I think what you're referring to is the fact that it was backwards compatible, so it could also play like Game Boy games and then also the thing underneath. There may have been a DS with a memory card, but not one that I ever recall playing.
Word.
Nintendo DS memory card. Let's see here. So I think you can add external storage to it, maybe.
Hmm. No, I guess yeah. What you said makes sense. That there was just like the old and the new games. Um, Sterlachini one also said he was like, come on, bro, Keith. He was like, come on, dude. He said Joe Rogan has literally had guests like Dave Chappelle, Cat Williams. He's had conspiracy black guy like Dr. Carson, I think is his name. He had Hispanic, Asian, whatever. He talks to whoever has an interesting story and can carry a good conversation for a couple hours. People just want to be mad at anybody with more success than them.
I don't
And
think he was
then,
coming at you with that.
yeah, he wasn't. He wasn't. Um, and then Ben Levitt said, we have given Joe a ton of praise for our show, or excuse me, on our show for what he's accomplished with his show. I've watched a bunch of his episodes. And then he was like, oh, I'm not saying y'all are mad, to be clear. I'm saying that the people that have called him racist on social media and all that, people have even tried to call him MAGA. And like, we totally agree with that, right?
Mm.
Like, that's crazy to call
But
him MAGA.
but he's. Did you see the latest thing with he's now boys with Trump again
When he went in the White House,
over the psychedelics thing?
yeah, that was hilarious. I'll try to find it real quick too. But to finish this comment, they tried to call him MAGA, but he's kind of in the middle. I've heard him
Mm.
talk about plenty about Trump too. LOL. I heard him talk bad plenty about Trump too. I think people get him and Dana White mixed up because they're both bald headed and are faces of the UFC. Dana definitely is racist.
That's funny, man.
That's freaking hilarious. So yeah, super appreciate that. And yeah, no, you're right. That people totally hate on Joe Rogan like crazy. Um, and yeah, the whole like calling him conservative thing was crazy. Because I talked to someone close to me about that, and I was just um, like, in what world is he conservative? Only in the world where like people are super not conservative, I guess, and they're calling him that. But like,
Mm.
what?
Yeah, it's also the left people also didn't have a counter punch to him, right? So like they didn't have there was very few left wing podcasts that were successful, right? And so I think a lot of people who Joe was around were very right wing,
Mm,
and so he got to give them a platform, like a launch pad for any of their ideas, and
mm,
the left just really didn't have that, right? So
super fair.
so you got to victimize. It's like that guy who or that lady who talked to what the heck's his name? He's one of the biggest ones, Tim Dillon. Do you know who that guy is?
The comedian guy.
Yeah, so he runs one of the biggest podcasts in the world too. And this one liberal, I'm assuming she was liberal, but I guess I shouldn't assume. But she definitely was very. It certainly seemed that way. But she was like basically coming at him, calling Joe like a right wing guy, all this thing, and he's basically like, "Is it?" And I'm paraphrasing a ton. He's like, "Could it just be possible that you guys lost?" Right?
Tim Dillon was saying that.
Yeah, like basically saying he's like, maybe people were tired of the stuff you kept talking about. They didn't want to spend 3 hours listening to it, right? So he's like, why didn't you guys like shift up your media strategy kind of thing?
Mm, hmm.
It's a lot easier to say he is wrong or he is right wing than saying we are bad at this.
Right.
So yeah, that's it. But yeah, because like until Prof G came around, they really didn't have like
That's a good one.
a really big left wing show.
Yeah. And he's pretty like for what he is, he's pretty relatable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, as far as like his messages, right? Like he
yeah,
doesn't take it too far. Like he makes it to where you can listen to
he's
him.
watchable.
And if you disagree, you can still listen to
You
him.
could still watch it. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And that was really Joe's advantage is that if you actually watched an episode for 3 hours, there may be a few points here and there where you're like, "Oh, I really disagree with that," but you could watch it.
Yes.
Even for people
Exactly.
that were this extreme and like how everything is.
That's a good point, man. And it's just like, I mean, I think both, I mean, Joe's been there this whole time, but Prof G kind of like being willing to have conversations and stuff. I think they're kind of a manifestation of the trend of like we need
Yeah.
to be able to talk.
Also, it's kind of a symptom of like the root cause of the left movement was that you couldn't really explore thought because everything was like penalized, right? Right, in a lot of things, right? Like, when you're I see it with Hassan's stream all the time. When you set the expectation that, like, everyone is the thought police, then when you try to explore thought, you're gonna get shit on too,
Mm,
right? So you set that precedent, then, like, your audience becomes, like, a box that you can't escape, so you're guaranteeing that you're gonna piss people off all the time. It's truthfully, like, I get everyone's side. I get the right, I get the left, but like this person said right here, like as someone outside the West, the left-leaning podcasts just weren't interesting because the audience wouldn't have allowed them to be exploratory or explorative, right? Because they'd be like, "You're forgetting this community. You're forgetting that." It would go on and on and on. It's like, holy fuck, let me talk. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yep, yep.
Yes, true,
It's
right?
interesting.
And we get it too. Like we see it happen too. Like everybody who watches shows thinks like they're the police of thought or like what you're allowed to talk about or who you're allowed to talk to, right? Like the arrogance of people that will come into a thing and be like, I've lost all respect for your show for talking to this person. It's like, get the fuck out of here, you loser. Like, who the
Yeah,
hell are you, man?
yeah, that's crazy for sure. Yeah, we've had a couple of those.
It's just such loser talk, dude. Like, so lame. If you're gonna come in here and be like, explain to me why what the person said is dumb, cool, come on in. I want to hear about it. I want to learn from you too. But to be like, shut up.
Yeah, I mean, guys, it's like we gotta have conversations. We don't have to agree. We definitely don't have to agree on things, but that's a really important piece of maturity and like being a human being that can self-actualize is
Yeah.
like, are you able to have a conversation with someone you
So
disagree with?
they're insufferable. Like the brand's point here is like they they are insufferable, right? Like their bit's been played out so much. And so much like we talked about for the whole root theme of this show, like easy come, easy go. When you play this game, you're gonna deal with the consequences of it after the fact. And Mads lost all respect for us. Dang it. Dang it.
Yeah. Um, and then yeah, it's people saying like the far right complain too much and the far left complain too much. It gets
Yeah.
exhausting.
They both say like the dumbest shit. That's like, and I have friends that are like deep in on both sides, and it's so funny like hearing their stuff because I'm like, you're so smart, but like, how do you not see this is so dumb,
Mm,
right? Because so again, because they get so most of the time they're talking about stuff that is like a good point, right? But then they'll also throw in this other crap that is like so clearly stupid, but like they still agree with it because if you agree with 80% of what was said, like you feel like you have to agree with the other 20. So it's so dumb, and I think there'll be a push away from that, but collectively as audiences, like we have to not reward the shows and the outlets that do that all the time. Right. And
right.
that comes with education because as soon as like why do I love talking about subjects like today? Is because as soon as you're aware of how someone's manipulating you, it is inordinately more difficult to manipulate you,
Mhm.
right? So like that's very important because a lot of people don't study how these platforms work or algorithms or how human beings function, period. Right. And because a lot of people won't explain this shit because my job objectively long term gets harder the more that you understand how I'm getting you to watch,
True.
right? So it's like you have to have people who understand it well enough to have the conversation and are willing to do so.
Yep. Yep. But yeah, so I'll play this one clip too from Joe Rogan with Trump, and because this was breaking the internet last week, I believe it was.
Trump some information. We have a gigantic opiate problem in this country, obviously. In 2024, more than 80,000 people died of overdoses.
Wow.
It's a horrible number. And there's more than 5 million people that are addicted to opiates right now in this country. With one dose of Ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it.
That part is just crazy.
Literally that quick. These drugs are illegal not because they're harmful. They're illegal because of the 1970 Controlled Substances Act that was passed by the Richard Nixon administration. They did it to target the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement. It's not because these drugs harm people. And for 56 years, we've lived under those terrible conditions. We're free of that now. We're free of that now. Thanks to all these people that we see next to me, and thanks to President Trump.
We all respect Joe, and he's a little bit more liberal than. That's okay. I have a lot of friends that are liberal.
So, anyways, that part was
That's like
funny.
a really good move by Trump to say that there.
Mm,
Because you now just eliminated the enemy of like, did you get what I'm saying here?
for sure.
Like he was probably told to say that.
It's a really good one. That's a good point. So to break that down, right? Because a couple of things. Joe also very recently had Theo Vaughn on his podcast, and they were basically making statements against like the war. They were like, "This is dumb. We shouldn't be doing this." And so Trump now, right, is he was calling out all kind of podcasters really recently. He was like, Candace Owens is ugly and like all this crazy stuff he was saying about Carlson and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Rogan kind of fell into some of that. I don't know if he's tweeted about him or not, but so that was an interesting moment where, he was like, oh, okay, well, Joe Rogan is actually too liberal now. Even though he had me on the podcast, he's too liberal now because he's saying this about what I'm doing. And like you're saying, well, that kind of diffuses this idea that Joe Rogan is some conservative guy because Trump is right there saying that he's too liberal.
Bro, almost every big liberal show, like the two faces they talk about and shit on all the time is like Trump and Joe.
I didn't see the Jon Stewart. I gotta watch that. That sounds pretty funny. That's gotta be pretty good. But yeah, man. So a couple more comments. I'll go over from over here.
Because that also, like, why that's so smart is because that also doesn't make him doing this deal like seem as bad to his core supporters. Right? Because he's saying, like, I did this, but I know Joe's a liberal, right? Because like the crazy Trumpers would be like, how dare you? You know what I'm saying?
Because of the drugs, period.
Yes.
Like this is so bad.
Well, that and also what he had said about coming out against the war, all that stuff, right? Like, sorry, go ahead.
Gotcha. Yeah. So he's saying, y'all chill out. I'm saying that this guy's too liberal.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Cool. I see now. Yeah. So some crazy comments over here, but I'm just gonna have to respond to some of you guys. Doug Godson, in particular, I don't think this one was too crazy. He said, when it comes to sunburns and your skin peeling, beware of your diet. In particular, seed oils, canola, corn, soy, and other vegetable oil are horrific for your skin. Stick to animal fats like tallow, butter, lard, and so on if you can. Olive oil and the avocado oil can be okay. I don't know anything about all that stuff, but word. However, now said I would agree with this 100%. It's disgusting how our food industry breaks down our immune system. Our food is the main cause of all disease in the West. Fasting and eating clean meat has changed my life. Stay awake. Ben said, appreciate the comment. I don't burn often, but have burnt in the past where my skin did peel. Could have been diet related. And then, okay, luckily the crazy stuff, I guess, is not here, but Dre Jr. said, respectfully, Ben, anyone white is not a minority in terms of racism. Sure, a minority in terms of quantity in your environment, but that is not the same as minority versus majority in terms of how the system works and who benefits, etc. Ben said, I think you may be making some assumptions on what I was saying.
Yes.
Did you have anything you wanted to say here?
Well, like as a white person, there's a lot more people who probably would have these conversations, but if they're made impossible to have, why, like, how many more times can I say the words that you want me to say to be able to talk, period? Right? I got to say privilege this, whatever. Okay. Before I can speak. Right. And even in that conversation, I was incredibly deliberate, intentional about like saying those things because I get why they need to be said, whatever. Okay. But then there's still a problem that's being had. Right. Like, and the problem is the assumption of the interpretation of my lived experience.
Right.
That's kind of a crazy concept to even think about. It's like you're telling me that what I did, like how it was wrong. It's like you don't even fully know what I was trying to say, right? And even like if you were to go through the yearbook, like there were more white people than minorities or whatever at my school, but I was saying like it was so like mixed up where the concept of a majority having like favoring rule in that context was just not something that was there, right? That's all that I was trying to say. It wasn't like I'm belittling the significance of what people have been through, but if that's all that you go to and you make it like a incredibly like no-win situation, I just don't think that's like looking at the problem holistically, right? Like, because when you just tell people like you did something wrong, I can say that as someone who's like never been in a racist family and I like we don't have a racist bone in our body. Like you telling me about what people have done way before me is not constructive to the conversation we're having right now. right? I'm not belittling that doesn't exist. I'm full on saying 101 times it does exist,
Mhm.
right? But that's like when you go and tell someone that they're wrong, what do? They put their skin up, right? Or like the hair goes up like a dog. Oh, we lost your camera.
Oh, shoot. I'm listening.
Yeah. So like it's just one of those things where I agree that there's a lot of problems out there and they can be solved, but oftentimes the conversations and the people who could help the most, if you make it too risky for them to even participate, then they just like they won't, right? And it's like, hey, well, flip the roles. Like, would you walk into a winless situation, right? Like, I think like morally, of course, you should still always try because if you know something is right, then you should do it. But if you're wanting more and more people to have these conversations, then the cost just can't be so high.
Totally, man. I also accidentally unplugged my mic throughout this, so that's
You're good. We're
unfortunate.
almost
But
done. It's all good.
yeah, but yeah, so totally, like we gotta get to the point where we can have conversations, folks. Otherwise, what are we doing here?
Yeah, and again, like multiple things can be true at the same time, right? Like, but when a lot of the points that are being made are based on assumptions, it's just I don't see the utility to it, and yeah, it just I think a lot of people enter conversations and they don't think about the holistic problem because they're very emotionally charged.
Totally, man. Um,
That's
yeah,
not the point that I'm making at all. I don't think that I said anything offensive. That's not my point.
yeah, no, and like another point here is, I mean, there's definitely a little bit of some tones of opinions that people have that are coming into the chat, and it does become very clear. In fact, there was a comment on this video that I'm not gonna read because it was a little bit intense. But yeah, I mean, just check the way in which we all should check the way in which we have prejudices as well as we're coming into conversations that we may have, making assumptions about people's experiences, especially when they're not even especially, you shouldn't even have to make all these disclaimers, right? Like if you have an opinion, if you have something that you are trying to share with someone about your experiences in life, right? Like let's listen to people and try to hear them out and not attack them in any way and using names. I know like people are very loose with like somebody said like white boy or this and that and stuff like that. It's like guys, like come on, don't be like that. It's very common in the black community, I feel like, to just use like stuff like that because it's usually not coming from a place of major hate, but it doesn't mean that it's not actually affecting the ability to have a real conversation
Mhm.
when you do things like that.
Totally.
So, just yeah, keep that in
Yeah,
mind.
I get everyone's, like, stance on it, I do, it's just, like, what are we optimizing towards? Do we wanna highlight that there's, like, a problem, or do we wanna work towards a solution and think about holistically everyone who's involved? But, what's this all about? So, on our last episode, that we got to the topic of, like, race and racism loosely because, we talked about Joe Rogan and then how he was called racist for a scandal that he had, whatever, from saying, a racial slur on an episode a while back, and then that clip circulated all over across the internet, and then we went on and talked about it from there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. That is how
Can you
right.
explain what's going on, not be so cryptic? There's you can go see, like, there's a full, oh, we're acknowledging the comment because that's what it's from, and feel free to go back and watch the other episode.
Yeah, definitely check it out. It was honestly, I really loved that conversation. I think that was one of the best uh dialogues that we've had. But last comment from this one was that you guys are so blind by ish crypto. Focus on Bitcoin and tokenization, not pudgy. Ben said, why not look at it all?
I don't get that, right? Where, because and even people are always just cherry picking for whatever allows them to talk and share their opinion, right? So it's like even if you give a disclaimer saying like I'm saying this is probably not like this is a risky investment, da 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 da, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and plus, like, I think it's like we actually don't really talk about ish cryptos. Like, if you really understand what pudgy is and what it stands for, you kind of realize that like that's actually something very unique
Mhm.
in the entire world of not just crypto. Like, it's not even a crypto phenomenon, honestly.
Yeah, it's
What
reached mainstream.
it's a social. phenomenon. It's like the memes side of the show is really what that's about, not the market side.
Totally. Yeah, we're not. I think that people, and I get why they think that. I think any meme coin or meme adjacent thing is just the same, right? Which I think it's a very surface level way of looking at things, and I think that that's like wildly ignorant when you look at the impact that IP has on all of our lives, right? Like we like what we like, right? And it's easy to get behind a symbol that we can wear and talk about and share. And this is one of the best things to do that because like people like cute shit, man. Do you know what I mean? And it's one of the cuter figures. And so, yeah, culturally, it's relevant.
Totally. Trying to look at some of these comments. Mads on demand. Agree with you 100% with you, Keith. Same way some black people let non-blacks say the word and others who vehemently do not. So why would you use any language that could be taken the wrong way by another person? Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation right there on the N word and all that and how that's used.
It's also like it's used so frequently in music too.
Yes, yeah, that's a whole conversation. I mean, the attitude around like, oh, you can't say that, and I think, look, I've grown up, born and raised in America, so my thing is like the way that I look at the First Amendment is like say whatever you want to say and just recognize whatever consequences that there
Come
may
along
be
with
for
that.
that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, that's a fair perspective.
that's kind of all it is. I want people to have 100% freedom to say what they want to say. I guess don't threaten people. You know what I mean? But other than that, shoot.
Yeah, I also think that like if you think about, yeah, it's a complex. Speech is a very complex thing, right? But some things are like not that complex too. So yeah.
So last thing I wanted to share with everybody, Asipa put together a little bit of a meme from the other day because I was being
Cool.
super silly about my memes and markets mug. And so let's
Bad actors, unless obviously hacked or things go wrong, because it's a self-executing. Meaning you what a mug that is. Apparently see what the if this then that scenario actually is. So it will just follow. Oh, nice mug. Let's go. We actually had a comment AI story too, is that any tool that you can do to in a world where there's unlimited content that all feels the same, people need to know because we forget because we've been here a decent amount of time. I'm buying 12. That's awesome. So always feel free to tell us those stories. And that's why I was asked so many kids questions as a kid, because I realized that the gap between
or to speak more broadly to what did Charlie Munger and others perhaps have in mind. There
says if it's a competition at battle, the race to the top always screws everything up. Water tastes better out of a memes and markets mug.
Oh, most definitely. But yeah, so anyways, guys, that's from the other episode. Wanted to show off my mug a little bit, you know. Looks pretty cool.
Looks super sweet.
Thanks for putting that together, Sipo.
Yeah, thanks, Sipo. And merch is definitely something that we'll do. It's just low on the order of priorities as we focus on getting things done and out there. And then the reason why we haven't already sold the mugs is because we want to vet the supplier to ensure that it's a decent quality. And we do have somebody in mind who's been going back and forth with me for like all of our merch, but I just haven't had the time to talk to her. That's completely on me. So
we've been coming up with some other phrases too, some stuff that also could go align with one of our other things that we're launching.
Yeah, totally. That could be season 2 of the shirt merch.
Yeah.
We've already got some pretty sweet designs made for every time we do a drop, we'll do limited numbers. So that way it's like actually gone once it's gone, not classic internet horse shit. Only 3 left. You know?
The surveillance pricing you guys up.
Yeah,
no, we're not gonna do anything like that. Mads on Demand said LMFAO. I think that's exactly what the founders meant when I was talking about the like say what
freedom
you want to
speech.
say. Yeah. That's a funny thing, man, because you got to think like I was just reading something about them. I think it was in that book about the founding fathers and like think about look, they weren't perfect, you know what I'm saying? Like when they said, you know, freedom of rights for all people, like they meant like white Protestant men at the time, to be fair, right? But like these dudes were kind of some gangsters, bro. Like they really were some very, very well-thinking people. Once again, not saying that they were perfect or that they had everything right, but they definitely spent time thinking. And like, it's just a crazy thing to think that they outlined these laws that, if they were properly being followed, right, would hopefully lead to a super successful society within the United States. And like, it held up for quite some time. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Longer than a lot of stuff.
Dude, like, it's a crazy thing to think that there were some people back then that were smart enough to think about unalienable rights, and just like the types of laws that you need to have in place to prevent people from doing stupid stuff and
Yeah.
hurting each other.
And a lot of these were wild concepts for the time.
Crazy, crazy concepts for that time. And I have a lot of research to do on it because I really haven't studied it enough. And I know that if when I do, I'll have even more respect for what happened. But
We should have on some more experts in that.
yes, yeah, man. Rob might know some people because I started looking at that a lot more when I started studying law a little bit too, because there's like different types of interpretations of the Constitution. There's like the Federalists, and then there's like the Originalists or whatever. And so it's like, basically, because these laws were all written then, but language changes over time,
Mm,
how do you
interpret
interpret what was being said then?
that is crazy. Because you can't predict how that language will change.
Exactly.
That's actually impossible.
Exactly.
Especially
So
nowadays when people just manufacture a word popping off. Like the whole word of the year crap.
I haven't seen that.
Every year the Webster's Dictionary releases a word of the year.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. But yeah. So yeah, man.
This year was slop. Sorry, 2025 was slop.
That's a good one.
2014 was polarization. 2023 was authentic. And then 2022 was gaslighting. That was huge across
Wow.
the TikTok community of everyone thinks they're a therapist. And then 2021 was vaccine.
Interesting. So is the point just like the popular word?
So I'm sure it's a marketing mechanism for just try to remain relevant from Webster's, but they started this whole thing where every year they release like the word of the year based on cultural significance.
Very interesting, man. Yeah, that's smart for them to stay relevant. Honestly, it's a
Hmm.
cool thing.
Totally.
But yeah, guys,
That's everything from me. Anything else from you?
that's about it, man. Just making sure that we all know about the fact that we're on Spotify. You know what I mean?
I think I still have to upload the Tuesday's episode. I think I fucked that up.
Oh, we're on
Yeah, I did.
Spotify at Memes and Markets. Give us a follow if you've already given us a review. And if you haven't given us a review, give us a review and a follow. We really do appreciate it. It also helps a ton with the discoverability of the podcast, which a lot of you have said that deserves a little bit more attention. So listen, give us a follow and a review, and you can make it happen.
Please do 100%. And then the other request that I often ask for is to send an episode to someone, that you think will actually watch or listen to it, and then some additional context in terms of why you thought of them in particular, because that stuff goes a very long way. You'll be shocked at how few people don't get to feel special or like thought of, and so oftentimes we don't take the opportunity when we are just randomly thinking about someone to tell them that, and that can really mean a lot. So definitely take advantage of that opportunity. And actually, as a little teaser, I think by next Thursday we should be good to announce the business. We should be good to go, and so that'll give people more of an opportunity to do more of that, because that's actually those kind of things are actually integrated into the platform. Let's say.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Cool, man.
sir. Super excited
Sweet.
for that.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's gonna be fun, and we want all of you guys to go into it. We've also built it in a way where there will be, even if you don't have the direct utility for it, there's some you can definitely find use for it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a banger app. Location of life.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Oh, it'll be good. It'll be really good. I'm super excited to get that out there. And then it's a lot. It relates to a lot of the things that we talk about here. And so if you align with the values of the show, you'll definitely align with the values of that product and the movement that we're trying to create around it. So you guys will be huge supporters in that. We will start bugging you for reviews on the App Store once that is live, because that stuff really matters.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep an eye out for that. My hope is that we can talk to you about it Thursday, Worst case scenario, it'll be the following Tuesday, absolute latest, but I'm going to push to try to make it Thursday.
Fantastic.
Cool. Awesome. Anything else from you, Keith?
Nah, man, just make today the best day of your life, ladies and
That's
gents.
it, guys. That's it. That's it. Be the light that you want to see, and we'll see all of you guys next week. Have the best weekend ever. Bye-bye. Take it easy.